Good evening, Overwatch fans, and welcome back to another amazing day here in Contenders Trials, where we have got a heck of a ton of barn burners going to be going on today. Starting off in the EMEA division, we're going to be seeing if Sheer Cold can withstand the heat of the Raspberry Racers in our first match of the day. I'm Captain Jack, your play-by-play, joined by Ed Sheeran, Ocean, on analyst, and some amazing folks, Ink and Zathan coming in on production. Now, Sheer Cold, definitely one of those top teams that we have got our eye on. Actually, almost sent British Hurricane down here to Contenders Trials, which, let's be honest, that would have been an outstanding feat. And the fact that it came so close is what makes this team so formidable.
Yeah, it's exciting. Today's an exciting day because we get to see Sheer Cold and we get to see Fusion University. Of course, Fusion University, the return of that team, that very successful team, right? That got so many North American championships. They're back with part of their Overwatch League roster playing in Contenders Trials. Now, Europe's been a bit of a weird region. Right now, we kind of got like a standard top 4 teams: New Kings, British Hurricane, EXO, and Shoes Money Crew, right? Those are our top 4 teams in Europe. Sheer Cold and Fusion University, who are in action today, are teams that are going to be looking at breaking that top 4. And it's going to be interesting to see both of those teams today. Can they maybe get stronger wins? Can they try and just dominate a matchup? That's what I'm looking at today.
And that's an interesting part about this Contenders Trials based on what we saw earlier in March, I believe, when we had our last trials this year, is the fact that we have an extra team on the roster. So that adds to the round robin, but that also removes a spot for one of those 3 lower teams to be able to make their way into Contenders proper. So it's really going to be up to those teams that are really kind of on the cusp to be able to make their way into Contenders trial or into Contenders and make a real big name for themselves. But right now, Sheer Cold seems to be on the top of that list. The question is, are Raspberry Racers going to allow them to make their way back?
Yeah, and Raspberry Racers are a team that have looked actually quite good at this Contenders Trials, right? You know, they kind of fell flat on their face in Contenders. I thought they were going to do a lot better this year than they have. 2 7-3-8 finishes for them, but they look pretty strong. I think Twills on off-tank has been a pretty unique adversary to Finzi, coming in, taking that off-tank role. I thought they looked really good on day 1 when they were playing against so Twills on the off-tank role is a player I'm looking at, particularly because they're a new player on this Raspberry Racers roster.
That's absolutely true. Our first map of the day is going to be taking us to Busan. Great control map to go ahead and get started on. And the teams are already set and ready to go, so we're just waiting to get into this match to get things started off. So while we're waiting for that, I want to remind you all to make sure that you don't miss any of the action here. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. You can also ding that bell so that you get notified every time we're online. Remember, this is a 7-team round robin, so we got a couple more days of Contenders Trials that you get to enjoy here on the Reflash Prod channel. Starting off, it looks like we're heading to the Shrine to go ahead and get our kicks and see which one will be able to hold that drum point a little better.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Both of these teams going for a poke variant of compositions. Sigma Wrecking Ball, so you're going to see the standard Sigma, Brigitte, and Zenyatta core moving around the map, trying to take space for better Discord angles and better poke angles. Aske is going to maybe stay with that group or try and take a different angle, and then Hydron is going to switch over to the Tracer here and form a front line with Crandop, and it's pretty much a mirror match for both sides, except we're going to see the Mercy from Gustav. A little bit more poke value, but a little less protection for that Zenyatta.
Yeah, I'm going to give a little bit more power to Lethal to be able to land those shots from a distance. Once you got the res online, you already have Crandop on that side, falling incredibly low, but going to be able to head back to that Mega to go ahead and get healed up just a little bit. And that Orb is looking to finish topping them off. Control Ore starting to go to Raspberry Racers as we see Sheer Cold moving into the objective. Cloud in that back line, looking to see if they can get that pick. They have found Hydrangea, and that is not going to be what they are looking for. Raspberry Racers already already going to start control of the point, but the fight is continuing on as we go ahead and see if they can go ahead and turn this sucker around. Excuse me, Sheer Cold took control of the point, but Raspberry Racers cleared it just as quickly. Duran just sending the pulse bomb in, but Cloud takes them out soon after as Raspberry Racers hold control and surpass Sheer Cold.
That was a messy fight for both. I don't really think either team consistently got into the fight and were getting good angles. Both frontline engagements were a little bit off. However, Sheer Cold, Raspberry Racers a little less messy. They'll clean up this fight. In the next fight, they'll have that pulse bomb to start. They're maybe going to look for the early pulse bomb engagement, try and get the backline and disrupt Sheer Cold even walking into the fight.
All right, we see the flank coming in from Sheer Cold as they go ahead and try to make their way around this right side. See if they can click a couple of heads. Woo-wee! Asking for a haircut right there as Lucer ends up finding some damage right there, or Slay rather, finds some damage onto them. The percentage continuing to climb as Raspberry Racers make their way to 50%. Crandup slamming in, and the minefield gets sent out, but Bob from Lethal goes ahead and clears the path right on the through. Doge coming in with a minefield of their own as NKZ tries to hold on to this objective for dear life, just barely getting it into control for Sheer Cold. The stick comes in, but Cloud able to hold on for now. Lucer coming out with the Transcendence to keep Sheer Cold on their toes. And Raspberry Racers going to get sent back to spawn.
Yeah, now for Sheer Cold, they get to hold that top left sort of area where they're going to have ANJ and Lucer kind of hang around. They're going to have NQZ as well, so it's going to be difficult to approach them because they've got so much protection for that Zenyatta with the Sigma and the Pepita. They've got Rally if things get desperate as well, but what they don't have is a Transcendent. Slay needs to keep that ultimate to deal with NKZ's Gravitic Flux, which will come mid-fight.
That's absolutely true. Slay already melting down Crandup, and the trade comes in onto Gustav as well. The percentage continues to climb as Raspberry Racers have already retaken this objective and are continuing their percentage climb, but the fight is now just a clean up mission. Cloud, Lethal, and Tuzel just lighting up this kill feed right now as we head into the final fight territory of Sheer Cold.
That was a weird fight for Sheer Cold. They just kind of walked in, tried to take a team fight. No one really seemed ready. There was no real objective to what they were doing. Now they have to walk into Lethal, who has the bomb, Doge, who has the minefield. This is going to be a difficult fight for Sheer Cold.
Point me in the right direction.
All right, we see Lethal with the bomb online, sends it into the back line. Coach Gun boops them off to the side, but actually might give Bob a little bit more of an advantageous position. Doge rolling on in, a slamming ball and chain grabs the double kill as Tulez follows up with one of their own. We end up seeing the trade coming in as overtime ticks away. NKZ able to hold on to this objective just barely, swapping it back over to Sheer Cold's control.
That was a little bit weird because they used the bulb on the backline early. They did get the value, but Doge's minefield, I didn't even see where it went. You know, that's going to be an ultimate that definitely stops Sheer Cold walking onto the point. Their front line gets onto the point. They start getting the kills. NKZ has a really nice Gravitic Flux and they clean it up well. Now they have to rely on their DPS though. Hydra, Ega, and Asking both have their ultimates. However, they don't really have anything else apart from Transcendence to keep them alive. If they want to get some kills and win this team fight, it's going to be the DPS.
Great way to start things off. Both Tracers finding pulse bombs on their Ashe counterparts. Being able to clean that up, but only Anj able to bring Asking back into the fight. We see Control getting ready to flip back over to Raspberry Racers if they're not paying attention, just barely. Crandup able to touch that objective and keep it in their control, but it's not going to be enough. Raspberry Racers have just been cleaning up everybody outside of this objective. No matter what Asking is going to be able to do right here, the Transcendence, the Bob, all of the ultimates coming out for Raspberry Racers as they go ahead and lock down this objective. Sheer Cold are going to continue to feed in here, and it looks like Hydrangea able to turn this back around with a double kill of their own. Cloud coming in on the soldier does find NKZ, swapping over to that Diva, but it's not going to be enough to hold it all together. Crandup and Hydrangea just pulling it all together right there, literally putting the team on their back and gripping the point back from the jaws of defeat.
This is what I see more of from Sheer Cold. These clutch team fight wins. They weren't unable to get that victory against BH across the line. Can they start winning these tighter team fights in matchups?
Overtime now ticking away. Now Sheer Cold in control as the ball battle goes on the objective. Both teams swapped over to the D, and Hydrangea in that back line finding the double kill. You can't keep a good Tracer down, folks. D-Mech comes in onto a two tools, and that is going to be it. Sheer Cold somehow able to grab away a victory from the Raspberry Racers, 100-99 on the Shrine.
I reckon if any coach, I wonder, you know, if that comes to the shock to anyone, because I think if you look at that from an analyst perspective, you can always say Raspberry Racers actually played the better map there. Sheer Cold just took those engagements and won those engagements when it really, really mattered, and that was really important to them getting that point win. Of course, it's not a map win just yet. They need to finalize one more control point to get there, but I was quite impressed at some of the clutch factor coming in from them. Raspberry Racers, they look solid though. Sheer Cold, I kind of hyped up as a team that are definitely going to win this series. It looks like it's going to be a little bit more close than I expected. Raspberry Racers and Sheer Cold going for different approaches here. It's going to be similar DPS and support lines, but a little bit interesting. We see the Wrecking Ball, who you could maybe engage a couple times within a fight. Also, we see the Winston from Prime up, the more consistent pick. You're going to have easier engagement tools with the Nano Boost onto the Winston. That's probably going to be something we're seeing a lot. So, here we go. Prime up just waiting for the opportunity to make a move. Waiting for that engagement. Once Crandop sees the opportunity, that's when all hell is going to unleash during this team fight. It looks like Crandop's already picked up a kill on the Lethal. Might have got a little bit exposed, a little bit isolated, and they pick up that kill. Problem is, NKZ has done the exact same thing, so we're in a 5v5 team fight. 4v4 now, and it's getting a little bit messy. However, Sheer Cold looked out the better of this engagement. They're controlling the space in and around the point, trying to get Aski some better angles, but with that McCree down, that team fight's going to be a little bit difficult to win, and Raspberry Racers will hold the point for now. Good. And a team fight from Slay, and they'll hold for now. Good team fight for Raspberry Racers. They managed to pull that one back, and that's where I think Sheer Cold fall flat a little bit, right? We saw in Contenders, you know, they had the potential to win some big series, and they just couldn't quite get some of those series across the line. So those little team fights where things are a little bit scrappy, those are where we're going to look to see Sheer Cold potential turn to. Can they win more of those team fights? This is a good start. A simple Nano Boost engagement on the Crammed Up, gets Lethal, gets Gustav. It's going to be a really fun and easy team fight for them. They'll get capture of this objective. Moving on to the next team fight. They don't even use the Nano Boost. Excuse me, it was just a simple engagement. They'll have that for the next team fight. They're going to throw that in. And yeah, this is going to be more of the same for Sheer Cold. Simple strategy, Nano Boost on the Crown. That Raspberry Racers, they've got to stop Lethal getting picked off early. They managed to get a little bit lucky in Team Fight 1, where they were able to find NKZ isolated, but that's not always going to happen, especially when we've already seen Sheer Cold adjust to that. Although NKZ discorded now, but seems safe enough to main. Here comes an engagement from Crown. Not quite, just decides to think better, but we're not quite wanting to go yet. It's a little bit patient from both teams. They're just kind of waiting for their time to go. Asking gets a pick on the slide. Not quite sure how that will happen. As Hydron gets into the back line, and that's exactly what's going to open up this fight. Raspberry Racers get a flip, but it's not going to last long. And yeah, next team fight.
All right, let's see if that works out a little bit better. Sorry about that, folks. Everything sounding hopefully a little bit better on their end. We'll check with production and see if that is working out. But looking at this fight going back and forth right now, Sheer Cold are really looking to set the line right here. Raspberry Racers have been kind of getting away with murder so far today, this week rather, but not going to last for long. The Deadeye coming out both from Asking and Lethal. Asking's the only one that ends up finding anyone, and it's Doge in their backline. Cloud being the next to fall. That McCree's got their sights out, and Crandop diving into that backline on that Angry Monkey is just going to continue to push back as Sheer Cold hold control.
Hydron's looking for a setup here, probably just going to wait for the backline to move and maybe try and pick off Slay. I think they know that Slay is that Transcendence, so they're either trying to force it out early or just get rid of that Zenyatta entirely. And KZ's going to go for that Graviton Surge.
All right, Pulse Bomb coming in, ends up finding Anj, but the cleanup is in the front line right now. NKZ just charged to the max and is cutting through Raspberry Racers like butter. There is nothing that they can do. They're still getting pick after pick trying to see if they can turn it back in their favor, but there's no way, no how that Sheer Cold is going to let them touch this objective. 2-0. That Sheer Cold take Busan and put a point on the board.
Yeah, that was a pretty consistent map for them. I mean, there were some team fights they should have won or played a little bit better, and they just didn't quite get them across the line. But other than that, Sheer Cold, they won both control points. They won the control map 2-0. And what I really want to see from them is not just can they get back into Contenders. I don't really care about that. I'm pretty convinced Sheer Cold will be back in Contenders next season. I want to see can they break that top 4. I want to see them improve on so many levels, and I'm getting a little bit more convinced. That was a solid map from them. But asking played incredibly well. I thought it was very simple for them. I think they simplified the game pretty well. Simple engagements, isolate a target, kill a target, and that was pretty strong from Sheer Cold.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, that's pretty much how the game is played. It's who can end up zoning out their backline just a little bit easier. And it seemed like Sheer Cold had it online. I mean, and that's the great thing about having that Mercy as well, right? Like, yeah, it's great to have the Brig to be able to defend your Zenyatta, but having a healer that's able to get out of the heat of the action really provides a lot of mobility that allows you to keep heals on the field. Instead of just having both of your healers completely deleted first thing out as you see the teams moving in. So now it's going to be Raspberry Racer's pick to decide where we're going to be heading next and seeing if they can turn this back into a 1-1.
It looks like we are going to go over to Dorado. It looks like they felt a little bit more comfortable in the Poke versus Poke matchup. We could see more of that Sigma Wrecking Ball on this point. I don't think we'll see the double bubble from both sides. Maybe we'll see that out of Sheer Cold because they looked a little bit more comfortable in the double bubble. And we actually saw the Zarya Wrecking Ball coming out of Raspberry Racers. So I don't think they want to elect for that matchup. They'll probably play one of the a similar composition to what they played on Sanctuary. A little bit more of a poke-based composition with the Zenyatta, the Wrecking Ball, and the Sigma.
Yeah, Dorado's definitely going to be either one of those really brawly maps that we see, or we're going to see kind of that dive or hybrid dive. Either they're going to go full on in with that Winston Diva, or they're going to go for the double bubble so that they have a little bit of ground support, especially when they're on the attack. That's probably the ideal scenario that they're going to go with. But needless to say, we never know until we get into the action. So it's going to be interesting to see what these teams decide upon. As we know, EU kind of has, or EMEA rather, has kind of a different style as to how certain maps are played and kind of how the meta is played in general than we see in North America or various other Overwatch regions across the world.
That's an interesting point you bring up, because I think more than ever now, right, Overwatch is in a pretty good state, right? We're seeing a lot of different heroes being played, and that means, traditionally you'll see EU teams scream EU teams, NI teams scream NI teams, Korean teams scream Chinese and Korean teams. Traditionally, that's what happens, right? And you'll notice these little mini metas on different maps starting to build up. That's what you'll notice. So what you will see is a completely different strategy on Kings Row for North America, or a completely different strategy on Dorado for Europe, that sort of different thing. So it's going to be interesting to see, North America, this might just be a double bubble map, but here on Europe, it could be a poke-based map with Wrecking Ball and Sigma. So we'll see what these teams elect to go for. I haven't quite seen these teams recently. Of course, we haven't been able to see these teams hit Contenders, so we'll see what these teams are going to cook up for this next map of Dorado.
Yeah, that's really what it's going to end up coming down to, and I think the thing that I find the most interesting about it all is the way that the DPS line is playing right now, especially when you get into those dive compositions. You have either the Tracer or the Echo diving in with the Winston to be able to create that additional distraction, that additional poke-based damage that we see. But if we end up seeing that more long-range composition, we see the McCree or the Ashe or the Hanzo coming out to be able to provide that huge damage over distance that we initially saw trying to be used on Shrine. Didn't end up working out incredibly well for both teams. It seemed to be a lot more on that Tracer ball dive that we saw going on. But going into Dorado, that's going to allow for a lot more poke-based compositions to be able to provide some pressure on the front and back line.
And this is interesting to me because Echo is probably a hero we actually might see on this map, because there's a lot of buildings behind a lot of cover that you wouldn't see on Busan Sanctuary, for example. So what I'd actually like to see is Lethal maybe go over to the Tracer, and then we see the Echo out of a different member of Raspberry Racers. I think that would be something that they could do. And Sheer Cool, I mean, I think Asking likes the Ash way too much, and I think that Hydron is really good at the Tracer as well, so I think they stick to the Ash Tracer. But I wonder if Raspberry Racers are going to adapt here and play a little bit more Echo on Dorado because of the extra cover, the extra tall buildings that allow the Echo to be played.
That's absolutely true. And now we're going to see a shift coming in. Raspberry Racers have chosen Dorado, but it looks like Sheer Cold will be taking the attack to start things off. So it's going to be interesting to see how that ends up working out for them. Obviously, they will end up getting to set the pace of the battle to be able to determine kind of where the line is, how far they need to prevent them from getting. But Raspberry Racers also have that similar control. The more that they can lock them down on the defense, the better off they are going to end up being able to lock this down. And very interesting lobs coming there from Spawn, really trying to let people know, hey, we know where you're probably at, so we're coming for you. We're going to come find you. And already we see the teleporter coming out from Cloud to go ahead and send Sheer Cold there onto the high ground. Or sorry, Raspberry Racers onto the high ground. Go ahead and move and contest Sheer Cold for this defense.
They brought everyone to the high ground apart from Doge, and they just walked on to Doge. So Doge part of this fight, and they're gonna lose that main engagement, so they're just gonna have to back off. I wonder if Sheer Cold are just gonna walk onto them and finish this fight.
Yeah, that looks like exactly what they're gonna do. NKZ and Asking just go ahead and clean it up, but that payload's gonna move slightly forward, as the respawns are going to be quick for Doge to get back into the action. They're going to pull back and wait for the team to regroup with Oray 50 seconds off the clock.
I wonder if they could have moved the payload with Cloud instead of Doge, and then had Doge engage and then have a better engagement just without their Tracer. That seems like a better way to play that sort of strategy. And now we've got a more traditional Dorado team. Like both teams just vying for that high ground. Sheer Cold splitting their resources between the one just above the point and the one to the left. And she gets a grip on the fly as the rotation comes through. Raspberry Racers just getting caught over and over again. Nothing seems to be working out for them.
Yeah, it just really doesn't seem to be working out in their favor right now, because Hydrangea just keeps getting in that backline. The sneaky Tracer, they just don't seem to be paying attention when they're coming in. Gustav trying to lead the charges. The Brig really needs to be hanging back to make sure that pesky Tracer doesn't get the value they're looking for.
Blaze got picked up again by Asking. They just can't complete a rotation. They can't even get into the team fight. Racers realistically haven't engaged once on this offense, and we're a minute and 45 seconds in, and now it's even tougher for them, right? Because Hydra could walk in with the pulse bomb. They could have a nano boost to instant on them as they try to engage. This is going to get tougher and tougher.
Ooh, Pulse Bomb coming in from Hydra and looking to see if they can follow up with that damage as well. Doge does get the nano to go ahead and get into that Primal Rage and create some space on the high ground, and they will get that payload through the choke, providing them a little bit more cover and forcing Sheer Cold back to defend the choke.
Yeah, this is going to get tougher and tougher, as I said. Hydrant does get a 3k to finish off, but Raspberry Racers, they still have not engaged. We are like 2.5 minutes in to their map choice, right? This is the map that they're meant to be comfortable with. They haven't even engaged. We haven't had a proper team fight yet. It's just been Sheer Cold setting the initiative. And they're on defense. They don't have to do that. Sometimes they can just give up a bit of space and then make that engagement. No. They're just engaging as they please. Been pretty poor from Raspberry Racers. I think they need to make some adjustments. Maybe put trolls on a Diva to stay tight to the backline. Or just Gustav needs to play more defensive to help out Sly, because I think Sly's died 5 times already.
And I mean, the really big name that we need to be looking out for, that Raspberry Racers need to be looking out for, is Hydrangea. Just lighting up the kill feed over and over. They're not paying attention to the backline because they're so busy moving forward that Hydrangea is just pick. I'm going to take every single one of your backlines, and by the time you actually turn around to see what's going on, they're all dead. They're all back in spawn, and now you're all alone to be sent back to spawn yourself. And with all that time already shaved off the bank, it's going to be really hard for them to try to turn this around. They now have the payload in the choke, though, which I think is going to provide them a lot of space. They're able to now utilize that kind of shortcut on the left side of the building to be able to get back to the payload a little bit faster. Might see some swaps over to like a McCree, maybe the Brig, like we said, hanging back a little bit more instead of being kind of that front line defense, so to speak, with the Winston diving in and trying to provide some additional shields for the rest of the team to try to stay up. It's going to be interesting to see how they deal with Hydrangea, because right now they're just not. They're just trying to ignore them and hope that they go away. But right now, it's not happening, and I don't think it will.
Yeah, it's not been a clean map for Asprey Racers. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it at all. This is their map choice. They should be playing better. We haven't seen our engagement from them. It has been that poor. And this is a team that has a lot of good players. Has played well for the start of this Contenders trial season. They were most recently in the most recent 2 seasons of the Contenders. Yeah, they finished 7th or 8th, but they didn't look this bad. They looked like a team that had promise. They just needed to get back up to some of their former glory. Of course, some of these players were on the original Obey Alliance that took down British Hurricane after their reign of terror in Europe. So this is interesting to me, right? Because it is their map pick, and they're doing 2 clean fights. Do they adjust, or do they just stick it on the composition they're on and try and build up those ultimates? Because if they adjust, they might not get a proper good go at getting point A.
Yeah, and that's really the question that needs to be asked right now. It's not necessarily that the composition itself isn't working. It's just that they're not paying attention to the direction that everybody's going. It seems like Doge just kind of diving in while the rest of the team is rotating, but that doesn't provide a lot of support to Doge, who's kind of out there in no man's land, trying to create some space because everybody else is rotating to get in position to provide support. And by the time they do, Doge is gone and your front line's gone and everybody's dead. So now we're back into the action as you see Hydrangea and Crandop just lighting up that kill feed once again. And with 1:30 remaining on the clock, it doesn't look like we're going to see a lot of swaps. Lethal on that Echo already halfway to that duplicate. If Cloud can get a good pulse bomb in that backline, they can provide a lot of support pushing into this objective.
The problem is Sheercold already have their ultimate. They can just go for an early Graviton Surge like they have, and this fight's already done.
Well, it's exactly as he said, and was asking for Cloud to just touch that objective to send the flashbang in, click in the head, just pushed it like 0.303 meters forward and already gone. Now 60 seconds remaining on the clock, and I don't know, this is looking really rough as the dive comes in onto this high ground. NKZ still sitting at a pretty high charge. Crandop deep in, able to pop the primal and create some chaos there in the back line, looking to see if they can get that cleanup onto Tools, and there it is. And Crandop, come on, you didn't even spray and spawn. You didn't do it right. Go back and do it again.
I mean, he doesn't have the primal this time, but we'll have a nano boost to complete this engagement. Twirls is going to have the biggest Graviton Surge of their life. They haven't used a Graviton Surge, and we're 3 minutes and 40 seconds into this round. But is it big? They're getting full held.
Yeah, like, and what is this rotation right here? I'm not exactly for certain what I'm watching here. We do see the duplicate coming in from Lethal, though, coming in on the Monkey. Great hero to pick here and create some chaos, but somebody's got to touch that objective, and no one does! What?
That was poor from the Racers. They had 20 seconds left, and they decide to go on this massive merry-go-round rotation. They were never going to get to the objective the way they were going. They were always going to get caught out. There was more chance for Sheercold to even engage and catch the mid-rotation with the nanoboost of Winston as well, because they had to know that the nanoboost was online. They hadn't used that for a very long time. I'm going to put it bluntly, that was a pretty awful offense for the Asprey Racers, but who knows, maybe they have a really good Dorado defense, and that's why they selected this map.
I'm Pikachu O-facing meme here, Ocean. Like, goodness gracious, it just doesn't make any sense to me. The rotation, especially at the end, was just so odd. Sending your double bubble into the underground to rotate to the high ground just seems so weird, and then you get caught out, right? They end up splitting. They end up splitting into 2 directions. You see Lethal moving to the high ground onto the duplicate. to try to create some space, and then you see Cloud and a couple others moving to the, I assume the objective to try to take care of that, but there's Asking just sitting there, literally asking for somebody to come into their sights, clicks 2 heads, clears the objective, and then everybody forgets that there's a payload to be pushed. And now only 50 meters to get it to where it needs to go for Sheer Cold to take Dorado.
This looks more right. See, we've got everyone taking this rotation besides the Tracer. The Tracer's going to move the point this time around, and the rest are going to try and rotate up top. However, it still hasn't quite worked out for Sheer Cold.
Well, they've got plenty of time to make it work, and the cleanup comes in pretty thick for Raspberry Racers. Hydrangea does find Gustav there, and the cleanup is now turning right on around, making sure that none of Sheer Cold keeps that payload moving, but it's already over halfway there.
Yeah, Hydrangea does really well to move the cart to a pretty good location. They only need one clean team fight win, and they will have Dorado for themselves to go 2-up in this series. Raspberry Racers, though, they seem to be poking quite well. That was a nice engagement from them in that back corner. Sheer Cold going for a similar engagement once again. Our worry teams are a little bit obsessed with this engagement because it hasn't quite worked out yet for either team.
Well, right now they're creating a lot more space than we saw from Raspberry Racers starting off. We see both Winston's moving in, and Gustav does find Crandop amidst the chaos. And Lethal with that follow-up on to Anj. That's going to go ahead and shut down this push once again. It looks like Dorado was picked because it literally seems to be the worst map for both these teams.
That's it. I'm banning that rotation from Contenders Trials. You're not allowed to do it because clearly isn't working for either side. Both teams are usually quite good at aggressing normally. We saw that from map 1 on Sheer Cold. They were playing it really simple and were able to get a lot of tools to work with. Maybe they can still be up the Nano.
Alright, well the Nano goes in onto Doge as they make their way into the back line. The Primal is online and ready and raring to go, but Doge just goes ahead and jumps out, gets the poke in, gets exactly what they're looking for, and now we're seeing the same from Crandop. The Cloud is on that payload, just firing away. Tools does get taken down amidst the chaos, but NKZ finds a pulse bomb right in the face. Already down 2 minutes, and this payload still stalled where it was 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, what's difficult for the offense is this Winston. It's double Winston for Lethal. However, they'll have a Nano Winston once this is over.
Yeah, that will indeed be the case. Doge now in this underground, Lethal in the underground, popping the Primal as Doge was primaling above ground, but that payload's moving, or at least it seems to be moving just a little bit, getting ready to make its way into the choke with only less than 15 meters left to go. Again, one clean team fight, and Sheer Cold can take this away, bringing us up 2-0.
Watch Luther's Nano boost in, and this is the time for Crandop to go in and finish this map. It's time to stop playing around and finish off Dorado, going to halftime 2-0. They were just waiting for that Nano boost and the perfect opportunity to finish off that map. They had the win condition set for a while. They just needed to get the opportunity to win the map.
Play of the game.
Ocean, that was something. That's about all I can say. That was something. The way that Sheer Cold held that high ground, I was almost for certain that it was going to be dead, done, and dusted within the first minute of that match. But needless to say, Raspberry Racers obviously had an idea of what they were doing. They just couldn't hold the line as well as we saw Sheer Cold do on their defense.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty poor offense for both them teams, but I feel like Sheer Cold had a really good advantage because once they set that defense, they just needed to set themselves a win condition. Not win condition they set themselves was giving Crandop a Nano burst. And that's as simple as it needed to be. Sheer Cold have been pretty good at that. They simplified boost on downturn extremely well and won that map. They simplified that Dorado offense for themselves pretty well. They had 4 minutes to work with. The first 2.5 minutes, yeah, it was 4. They were going for some weird rotations or whatever. But yet again, all you need to do is have one clean team fight win. Say that 5 times fast. And that's exactly what they were able to do.
Yeah, it seemed that that's what ended up coming out, and you know, we'll just chalk it up to the fact that Raspberry Racers, instead of picking a map that was good for them, decided maybe we'll just pick a map that's poor for both of us. So that's all I'm gonna surmise that map up. But now Sheer Cold is up 2-0. We're gonna head to a quick halftime break, and after the break, we'll see if Sheer Cold can take it all the way, or if it's beep beep reverse sweep time for Raspberry Racers. Welcome back, everyone, to the EMEA Contenders Trials Day 3, where we are already hot to trot with Sheer Cold versus Raspberry Racers. A very interesting first half, I guess would be the word to use, because I'm not exactly for certain what to call it. But first off, we do want to say thank you for all the donations in the chat. Definitely not required, but it definitely helps out, and we greatly appreciate it. You know what we'd appreciate more? Just hit that subscribe button, folks. Every subscribe brings us that much closer to doing so many amazing things. Plus, you hit that little bell right next to it. Lets you know every time that we're online bringing you amazing Overwatch action here on the Reflash Prod channel. Now, Ocean, that first half. Yeah.
You know what? I think what's best to summarize this, right, is it was a little bit of an unorthodox first half. Both the teams, didn't really quite get into their rhythm. When it was simplified, when Sheer Cold simplified the game down, they looked excellent. And the important thing is for Sheer Cold, they won the match, right? Yes, It was messy, right? But if you want to be a team that's going to break into the top 4 of contenders, the top 4 of your respective region, you've got to win those messier rounds. And what is good for me is that they can simplify these rounds down. When they really need to simplify things, they simplify it, and that's the map there. It's done. What I need to see from Sheer Cold, though, to know they are a top contender in the European region, is them to just dominate a map. I just want to see a clean map. You know, they'll get 3 points. Their opposing team gets full health. I want to see that from Sheer Cold. I want to see that they could do that, that they can be a strength in the EU region. That's what I want to know from Sheer Cold. We got Fusion Uni later today. I need to see that from them as well. Are we going to have 2 new giants come into Europe and make it a top 6? Or are we just going to have a top 4 again?
Yeah, that really is going to be the biggest question that we're going to be looking at right now, because you know, every team has their off day, right? So if Raspberry Racers want to kind of make a name for themselves, it seems like Sheer Cold is having one of those off days. So this would be the best day to make a name for yourself, and you still got time to do it. You're just kind of climbing uphill at this point. You've dug your hole, and now you got to find your way out of it to be able to bring us back to a map 5, and it looks like Raspberry Racers are going to be taking us to Numbani. Now, typically we call this the dive version of King's Row, if you will. Usually see the dive or the double bubble coming out because there's a lot of high ground space for your dive to be able to utilize and kind of jump up and down from. You can have your snipers on the high ground, have your echoes or your Pharas utilized as well. And at the end of the day, it plays to this chaotic nature that we've seen between these two teams thus far. The question is, does Sheer Cold still have it in them to continue to clean it up, or have Raspberry Racers found a way to stop them dead cold?
I mean, I'm a little bit concerned about this map pick. I feel like Raspberry Racers think they're better at double bubble than they are, because they lost in the Wrecking Ball double bubble sort of matchup versus Sheer Cold on Busan Downtown. They lost on the double bubble map of Dorado pretty badly, and now we're going to another divey double bubble map again here in the Bonnie. I'm not so sure on this map pick. I'm not so sure Raspberry Racers know where their strengths are, but we'll see if they can turn this series around. I feel like if they get a little bit of good fortune, they nick a map, then they can get back into this series, because this is not 100% Sheer Cold, and I want to see 100% Sheer Cold.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, we always see stuff like this, right? That even though it's just a couple of minutes break, sometimes it's just enough to kind of derail the momentum that we're seeing coming out from the team that's on top. But really, to say that Sheer Cold has momentum is odd, to be completely honest with you. All of the fights so far have been incredibly close. Even Dorado, essentially a first point hold, you know, less than 60 meters, was still taken to the final minute of that map on Sheer Cold's attack, despite them holding a very close defense. So it's really going to be up to Raspberry Racers to kind of draw a line in the sand, say that we're not going to let you bully us around anymore. And I think Cloud might have that answer coming out on this Widowmaker.
I think they were just looking for something, maybe looking for a Sombra who might be like trying to go charge or strike to this spawner. That might be something that they were doing. What's interesting to me, or what I want Raspberry Racers to do, is just take an aggressive engagement, because realistically they didn't have good engagement on the last round, and Sheer Cold could be a little bit rusty on the defensive side, so maybe it's all hell, no hell's bound, aggressive engagement for Raspberry Racers might be the ticket here.
Yeah, that was an interestingly sneaky approach, as we see the Tracer battle going out in the back line. We see Hydrangea falling incredibly low. We're going to go ahead and get back to the support of the team. And Asking is looking for Cloud in that back line, waiting for them to find their way up. Lethal falling incredibly low, as is Asking. And there it is, the dome shot to go ahead and secure that elimination. And is looking for Gustav to try to come in with that res, but it looks like they're not going to be able to get it in that time. Hydrangea now looking to chase down Cloud, but they're going to go ahead and head into the back line for that mega health pack. And right now, Sheer Cold are holding a very strong defense, because the poke coming out from Raspberry Racers is more of a tickle.
I mean, both teams have the nano boost online, so we're probably going to see 2 nano in a second. We'll see who gets better out of that.
All right, we see the nano now coming in onto Doge, looking to see if they can take NKZ out of the fight. Will end up being successful and going to make their way back up to try to get the follow-up onto Asking. Gonna be unsuccessful as Gustav brings Lethal back into the fight. And it looks like that push, despite the picks that have come in, it looks like they might actually be able to turn this sucker right on around. That res really helping out. Hydrangea does finally find Cloud in their back line, and 2 ticks already on this objective. Third one getting ready to come in as Hydrangea touching to try to hold everything together. NKZ now back in the fight as well. Finds Gustav amidst the chaos and just shy of that 3rd tick. They will go ahead and lock down this objective once again, bringing us under 2 minutes.
You know what? Sai is probably so angry with the rest of the racers right now. Perfectly timed nano push, a good sleep dart on a crammed up who got nanoed. That should have been the team fight 1. They just need to clean it up. And they didn't clean it up. No target focused onto the remaining members. Sheer called a very simple re-engagement back in. They didn't even have to use an ultimate realistically to do it. I mean, they used a force bomb. Realistically, that's not a big deal. Pretty easy retake for them. And look, now Sheer called up the ultimate advantage here.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Winston.
They could use the Primal Rage, or they could just earn up one of their own as Lethal comes in on the dupe, and oh no! A lot of that time is going to end up getting wasted due to that sleep dart coming in from Looser. And that's going to go ahead and lock down this objective for now. Crandop trying to push back, but Lethal comes in with the beam. Graviton Surge coming in from NKZ, but I don't think the follow-up is going to be there in time. Lethal just indeed living up to their namesake as the Nano goes in onto Doge to hold this point together. They will go ahead and surpass and capture Objective Alpha, start making their way through the streets of Numban.
That was a really nice hit from Lethal. Where's the Lethal and Doge? Just try to clean up this fight and make sure that there's no early falls on the body point speed. And this should now be a pretty free objective for Raspberry Racers. This should be 2 points on the board because the body point B, there's no real advantageous holding points except that starting corner just after point A. That's probably the best place for an body point B hold. So it'll be a difficult re-engage for sheer quarters they come back into things. They have got Hydrangea behind, which is going to make things a little bit easier. Just try and split the focus, exactly how Lethal did with that duplicate earlier in the next fight. Picking up Lethal, already up to another duplicate. So see if they open the Winston once again. They're trying to take some of the attention away from their actual main tactics.
Now the dive coming in as Doge trying to find some damage, will be successful, but doesn't find the pick to be able to keep that payload moving in as it starts making its way around the corner to Objective Bravo. Now the duplicate coming in for Lethal. Deadeye out from asking for a head to be found, finds the duplicate in the end, thanks to Anj sending them outside of the bubble. That might be just enough to go ahead and lock down this objective. Asking is asking you to please just get in front of my Peacekeeper as the DPS go down. That locks down this objective once again. This Raspberry Racers got to find a way to poke back.
Interesting. Lethal, who kind of used the Echo to get things okay, is now going off of the Echo. Had enough of that. Wants the duel Asking on the McCree. Asking on the McCree, one of the better McCrees in the European region. I think this is like a new X-Factor pickup for sure that makes it 10 times better. I like Asking as a player, and it seems to be working out.
A rip there from Doge, waking up Slay's big sleep onto Cranpop, but they're falling incredibly low regardless. It looks like they're going to get healed back up to be able to get back in the fight. Hydrangea in that backline looking for those supports, looking to see if they can clear out this objective. Graviton Surge comes in hard and fast for Tools, and the cleanup is fierce. With a minute on the clock, Objective Bravo is captured, and they're going to make their way to Objective Charlie.
Yeah, and positive for sheer cold. The only positive they can really take is that they've still got the Nano Waste. They've got a Nano Winston engagement. Pretty simple or easy engagement for them in the next team fight. Raspberry Racers, though, they've got to maximize this time to take as much space as possible, try and get Lethal into a good position for this Deadeye. Maybe use it early in the fight and use Doge's Primal Rage to try and create some space. I want to see a sick Deadeye from Lethal.
Cloud ends up finding Asking on the high ground with Lethal. Deadeye now coming out, finds Looser as well, and the cleanup just continues to come in hot, fast, and heavy. Lethal with the fan, the hammer, tracking Cranpop as they fall to the ground. And that is going to possibly be Objective Charlie. Only one fight possibly remaining.
Yeah, but they have both DPS ultimates, so they'll definitely get a team fight. Asking using this just to get some space out the door, and then maybe they could try and win it with NKZ's Graviton Surge. That's got to be the win condition here for Sheer Cold.
NKZ falling down to half health, trying to keep everything together. Tools in the side room getting poked at by Crandop, but not going to be able to secure the kill. Hydrangea, though, does find Ana in the right room, sending Slay right on back to spawn. With a minute remaining on the clock, they'll lock down the payload just shy of Objective Charlie and live for another fight.
Maybe the win condition Sheer Cold wasn't. Okay, so he's got the Concerts. I mean, I can tell you it wasn't. It was Hydrangea and Asking. Maybe those are the players that are trying to set up every single team fight, because we seem to be singing them in the kill feed an awful lot. I like how Sheer Cold are setting up their DPS. They have a postpone to set up in the early fight. We'll see what Hydrangea could do with that. They don't really have anything else apart from the Graviton Surge. They could go for a Graviton Surge postpone combination if they really want to.
That's absolutely true. The poke coming out from Cloud there in the side room, looking to see if they can get enough damage to take Crandop out of the fight, but they do have that Primal Rage online, and it is coming out now. Sleep Dart ends up sending Crandop into the backline, wearing out that Primal Rage, and there comes the grab from NKZ. Pulse Bomb coming in just in time as the bubbles fall. Gustav and Tools going down. Hydrangea with the headshots, a full one clip, taking Slay out of the back line, and that's a cleanup. Raspberry Racers, no way they're going to be able to get back in time to touch. Oh, Cloud just barely able to activate overtime, but the recall isn't there for them to be able to get back in time. Or maybe it is. Gets stunned by Anj, though. Gets sent right on back. Gustav trying to be able to get in to the objective in time, but Hydrangea sends them sprinting past the payload with a good old dead body flail. 2 objectives, though, just barely shy of Objective Charlie. That's a great setting for Raspberry Racers and sets a good win condition for Sheer Cold.
Yeah, it is. It's just a simple win condition for Sheer Cold. Complete the map of Nimbani realistically. And I think that also allows them, since they're attacking first, to simplify things down. Okay, we'll just have a simple Nano Winston fight to take point A, or maybe have more advanced Deadeye set up for point B, and the simple fight plans that they want to build up to. You know, they can build up to those fight plans within 1 or 2 fights because they know what their win condition is. They just need to complete the map. Raspberry Racers, it's a little bit more complex for them. They need to make sure the team fights are longer, which means the setup for team fights are longer for Sheer Cold, but they also need to make sure they're winning those team fights and making sure Sheer Cold don't have the space they need. So Raspberry Racers, they're in a little bit of a difficult spot. How do they want to play this? My advice would be just go super aggressive, right? Doge into the backline, throw a nade on him early, see what sort of chaos you can cause up, and let Cloud and Lethal do the rest. And make sure you try and use that every single team fight, because hopefully that will also stop ANJ on the Brigitte giving resources to the DPS, because Sheer Cold's DPS are on fire right now, right? And usually in this, on a Brigitte support composition, the Brigitte's resources are going more towards the DPS, on a more traditionally towards the tanks. So maybe just trying to isolate an ANJ and make it so the DPS can pop off a little bit more is an idea. So I want to see Doge going aggressive onto ANJ, onto the backline, and Cloud and Lethal looking to finish up that target in particular. Yes, that Brigitte is getting a lot of value to, of course, in turn, help the DPS get a ton of value.
I can definitely concur with that, but you gotta be, once again, looking out for Hydrangea just in that backline constantly, and I'm honestly wondering if Ange is even giving them the support that they need. They just seem to know exactly where every health pack is and able to grab it before Raspberry Racers end up finding it. Cloud does find Crandop to go ahead and get things started off, asking, looking to see if they can trade things out onto Tools, but gonna be unsuccessful. Hydrangea does find Slay amidst the chaos, but it's not gonna be enough to turn the tide of the fight. That's gonna be a lockdown of Objective Alpha as they get sent back to spawn.
And actually, I think they've actually elected for that approach, because ANJ, you'll see, has a lot more ult charge than just that. So a lot of their resources must have went over the tanks for a little bit of extra healing, of course, meaning they'll have more ult charge. And then look at the DPS ult charge for Sheer Cold. It's actually lower than the Raspberry Racers DPS ult charge. So that is what the Racers are trying to do, shut down the DPS by shutting down ANJ.
All right, we see Hydrangea moving into this backline once again, battling it out with a Cloud as those Tracers continue to do. Duplicate now coming in, Lethal on that Winston, but gets melted by Asking. Do not pass go, do not collect $200, do not get that Primal Rage. you're going to get shut down, but there's no way they're going to be able to push into this objective. Gustav does get found by Crandup on the high ground, and Slay is the next one to follow. The picks coming in from either side, but with the supports already down, Pulse Bomb comes in. Crandup falling incredibly low and Asking able to find Cloud with that Deadeye. The trades just continue to come in, one for one. But Hydrangea is going to be the last one to hold on, taking the point with Crandup, and hopefully going to get that payload pushing. Lethal, though, comes zooming in from the sky, able to contest, gets that second tick on the objective, and it looks like they may have to pull back. The Nano now coming in onto Lethal, trying to hold it all together as the Graviton Surge comes in from Tools. The tool is used, and it is utilized as the beam just melts down the tanks of sheer cold. The broom is out, and they're looking to lock down objective Alpha with a fury.
Yeah, they almost became a victim of their own strategy, that team fight. However, they managed to come back in, take a good retake thanks to the better respawns. They're going to get a pick on Asking as well. Asking seems to be getting a little bit frustrated in this DPS show, and getting taken out again definitely is going to help that cause. But it's a tough one there, right? Lethal hero play, great. But I think it's the rest of the racers. Whoever is doing the strategy for them right now is making the shot calling. It's really helping them. A&J has been struggling this map. They've been focusing only up to that rally now. I mean, so is Gustav. But Gustav, this is on their report. They are letting their flying. They are letting their tanks play more aggressive.
All right, well, the duplicate comes out again. NKZ grabbing the double, even grabs the duplicate, and Looser ends up putting their name on the board as well. Chooser trying to see if they can grab some values. The Sleep Dart comes in, keeping Asking from popping that Deadeye at the right time. Hydrangea in the side room! Trades the Pulse Bomb, 1 for 2 right there between Cloud and Hydrangea. And now it's going to be up to the Tracer battle. Who can clean up the other's team the fastest? The bubble comes in, trying to keep Cloud in the fight, but NKZ isn't going to allow it. Grabs the double kill, and Crandup looks to be sending Tools over the side, discarding them, sending them back to spawn as the objective heads to the streets.
I thought that team fight was one off of Sleep Dart. They put a lot of work sheer code in this setting up, Asking instead on, and they weren't able to get it off because of the Sleep Dart. But Hydrangea, that player once again, when they need kills, comes in with kills. And I Sleep Dart there from Looser to try and give sheer code a little bit of extra space. It's exactly what they have been able to do. And now, that's for the defense, because Slay has hit another nice Sleep Dart on to Asking, which means they have to defend them and Free will get picked up. And now, both these teams are going to try and take this high ground. It's going to be a bit of an interesting duel here. It's NKZ who's on us having that.
Wow. Slay is not slaying anybody, but is literally putting the entire team of sheer cold to sleep, one after the other. The dive comes in, and Asking and Looser just respond in kind, saying, no, don't get to do the dive thing onto us. That's kind of our thing right now. And they're going to go ahead and melt everybody down. Tools ends up finding their own demise, just grouping up with the rest of the team as a good teammate does. And that's going to be objective Bravo with a very clean sweep, giving them about 3 minutes to push into objective, or not even objective Charlie, just the golden box of victory.
I mean, I'm a little bit concerned there, because if I was Sleep Dart now, you would think that would be the perfect moment to go in and engage, but they actually let him wake up and then let sheer cool take the initiative. I know Asking hit a couple of really good headshots to open up that point, and that's just Asking being good. Here comes the engagement from the race, which is very aggressive, but Asking's Deadeye was even more aggressive, getting 2 kills. This next fight, one more clean team fight with and sheer cool will get it. They've got the Graviton Surge with the Pulse Bomb to do it. They use that on their defense. Can they execute it once again, this time to take the series?
Asking's not asking anymore, folks. They are telling. NKZ getting caught in the solo grab, gets the Pulse Bomb as well. They're putting everything into trying to take NKZ out, but it doesn't matter. Hydrangea in the backline just being an absolute nuisance, even holding Slay at the spawn doors. Not going to let that Ana out of the spawn, and sheer cold envelops Noombani, taking away the map, taking away the match, and showing Raspberry Racers that it's not going to be so easy to get back up to Contenders proper.
I mean, it's not, but that's what I wanted to see from sheer cold. I wanted to see them dominate rounds when they need to, and I wanted to see them simplify enough to where they could get these more difficult and messy rounds across the line. I've seen what I needed to for sheer cool. I am convinced that they are a team that will not just be a top 16 in Europe, right? They're going to be a top 4 team in Europe if they continue along this trajectory. I think that was a really good match for them. A 3-0 over the Racers. Very impressive performance from them. Raspberry Racers, I mean, they started to pick up towards the end, but I don't really think they had a game plan going into this game. Once they started to shut down A&J, which in turn shut down the DPS, they looked a little bit better. But as soon as Point A was gone, they stopped doing that, and in turn, they got decimated for the rest of them, Bonnie. And Sheer Cool took advantage of that and win the series 3-0.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it just seems that they were just a little too hot to trot. We're going to go ahead and send it to a short break as we get a representative from Sheer Cold in to talk about their victory. Welcome back, folks. Here, coming in from Sheer Cold, we have Hydrangea, aka W Mimone, coming in to talk to us about how this match was just an incredible performance from Sheer Cold today. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm really happy. Honestly, I'm really happy we won this game because other than funny, I think this is like the best, like the hardest team to beat. So I'm really glad we win it really convincingly.
That's good. So I wanted, out of this match, I wanted to see a sheer cold could not only, get top 2 in trials, which I think you will do comfortably, but push top 4 in contenders, right? Because you almost sent British Hurricane last contender season down your trials, right? I thought you guys, you played tremendously and consistently across the entire series. Got a little bit messy on Dorado, but talk to me about your Dorado defense, right? Because it was a little bit messy from them. They kept going on these weird long rotations, and also before the last fight took a very long rotation. How did you prepare for that sort of thing? How do you get those engagements set up for those longer rotations that they were taking?
I mean, you kind of on Dorado, like the attacking team, they have to try to rotate like top left. That's normally what they have to do, and then at the same time, the Tracer goes point to force it.
Yeah.
So basically, as the defensive side on Tracer, I just have to like mark the Tracer on point, and then my team. I mean, honestly, I'm not exactly sure what my team has to do, but yeah, I just.
They just do things.
I just shoot
I
the
want to ask
Tracer.
another question about that, because in the first team fight they had Doge moving the point instead of the Tracer. Do you think that had an impact on the entire first round? Do you think it was
I mean, I think it's fine. But we got a really nice nade, and it enabled us to kill him. But yeah, it's normally fine because the monkey can just push car and then kind of jump up to the high ground where our team is. But obviously, yeah, we got a nice nade and we were able to punish him.
Alright. And now I want to move on to Nambani, right? This is a little bit more of a nervy map because you're trying to close out the series, trying to confirm the win. You had a pretty good control of the series until your Nambani offense. What were the adaptations you made, before that final fight on point day to make sure you got it across the line and made sure that you finished it here in Nambani?
To be honest, it's a blur. I don't think there was anything like special. Obviously, we just ult tracked and planned what we're gonna do in terms of ults, and then I had a plan in my head of what I'm gonna go on the backline, etc. But yeah, I don't think it was anything differently. We just obviously used our ults in a different way.
Yeah, it was a really nice pulse one to clean out and get you started on the Bonnie as well. So congrats on that. A really nice play. You looked awesome on the straight to that. I'm gonna throw it back to Jack Lund for similar questions.
3 days down, 3 more to go, and there's you definitely got some matches ahead of you. Is there a particular team that you all are preparing to go up against in the next couple of days of trials?
I mean, it's definitely funny. They're insane, to be honest. Everyone on there, and particularly Sugar Free, because I look up to him a lot. I think he's really good, and yeah, I mean, it'll be a good game for me, and I'll be able to learn a lot. So yeah.
Alrighty, well, we hope that you have a lot of fun with that. Enjoy your victory. Anything else that you'd like to shout out before we send you on back to your team?
I just shout out my team. They're insane, and we're gonna do really good this season in Contenders.
All right, you heard it here, folks. Seeing the first of 4 to move back up to Contenders. Hopefully, we'll keep our fingers crossed for you. Thanks so much for joining us. But we're going to go ahead and head to a quick break. We got some more Overwatch action to bring on in for y'all, because we're going to see a Fusion University going up against Old and Bored. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Contenders Trials action in a few moments. welcome back, Overwatch fans. Ready for our next match here in the EMEA division of Contenders Trials action. We have got Fusion University versus Olden Board. Now, Fusion U, as Ocean and I have kind of been talking about, is the other team that kind of has already got a big lock going into Contenders, Sheer Cold being only second to them. And I gotta say, right now, it doesn't seem like there's anything that can stop this train from moving for Fusion University.
Yeah, let's focus on Fusion University. Of course, Sheer Cold, the other team that we expect to pretty easily move on back into Contenders, is probably already there. That was a tough game for them against Raspberry Racers, or was meant to be a tough game, but they took pretty good control of that series. They won 3.
Just trying to make it interesting.
Of course, my prediction was correct, right? But Fusion University, now they're against Olden Board. Olden Board, yeah, they're 3-0 so far, but realistically against weaker opponents, the Fusion University and Sheer Cold, they beat 3-2, and they beat 4D 3-2. I don't think Olden Board really have a chance of winning today. But what I want to focus on is Fusion University. Can they be a dominant team in this region, at least for the next Contender season, for this trial season? Because if they are, and what we saw from Sheer Cold is going to stay consistent, we're going to have 6 really, really strong teams in the next Contender season. So today, this is all about seeing Sheer Cold and Fusion University. Are they the real deal? Sheer Cold has already proved it. Can Fusion University do the same?
Yeah, that's really what's going to come down to at the end of the day. And when these two teams face off, I'm going to be really interested to see that match. And hopefully it's live and not the one that's actually off screen, because that's going to be an absolute banger. But nevertheless, they still got to get past everybody else as well. Sheer Cold isn't the only opponent in their way. And now that they're through the newbies, it's now to go against the old guard to see if they can make their way up into Contenders proper. Now, Olden Board, of course, are made of previous Overwatch League players as well, and very talented individuals. You know, we heard talk a couple of days ago about the fact that, you know, originally this team was just kind of a memer team, you know, just kind of together to have some fun, you know, play Overwatch the way that it was meant to be, and just kind of enjoy themselves. But along the way, something changed. The team changed, and now they're here to stay, and seeing if they can continue to leave their mark here in the Tier 3, Tier 2 scene. So it's going to be interesting to see how Olden Board respond to the flavor and the fire that come out from Fusion University.
Well, I've actually been quite impressed with Olden Board so far in this Contenders trial season, because they kind of looked like that they were the worst team in Contenders both months this year.
Yeah.
But realistically, I thought so far 2 strong 3-2 wins over 4D and pretty good start for them. Unfortunately, that poor start is probably going to come to an end here against Fusion University as we start and boost on yet again for this trials match. I'm just excited to see Fusion University. Are they the real deal? I mean, we know that these players are good. They're Overwatch League level players, right?
Mm-hmm.
But can they prove that they can consistently play well in the Tier 2, Tier 2.5 scene, where things are going to be a little bit weirder, they're going to be a little bit more strange, it's not going to be the level of play that they're used to playing in, so they could be a little bit uncomfortable, not because they're not good enough for this level, they're good enough to play at a higher level, but it just could get a little bit uncomfortable for them. I want to see them dominate some matchups.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we have to remember that just because you're part of the Overwatch League or previously part of the Overwatch League doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't other talented and gifted players out there. I mean, we see it all the time between Open Division, Contenders, Trials, and Contenders proper. We just see names continuing to light up kill feeds and light up hearts of folks at home, just big old fans. As we go ahead and move into Busan, we're going to be starting on downtown this time around. And it's, as we always say, there's so many different compositions that can be utilized. Definitely in the EMEA, this double bubble has kind of been working its way in, especially for Fusion University, who seem to be having a lot of fun on it. Will Olden Board be able to respond effectively?
I want to highlight a player of Fusion University before this match gets started. It's one of the non-Overwatch League players on this team, and it's Jay Corey, right? Because Jay Corey I think it's a very, very strong main tank. If an Overwatch League team is looking for a Western main tank, they should be looking at Jaekaru. And the reason I hold this player so highly is how they played on Uprising Academy last year. The other academy team that is back in the trial system. Put that team from trial shield to potential contenders winners instantly. And we'll see if they have the same impact with this star-studded role.
Ooh, Pure Irish already diving into the action, gets demacked and taken down by Giala as Poco gets the follow-up onto Teemo with the fist. That's going to be enough picks for them to go ahead and hold control of this objective and get it into Fusion U's favor.
That was a weird team fight, wasn't it, right? Because we actually see all the board setting the pace. That's the occasion we want to take roll versus double bubble. And they just seem to take way too much spam damage, but didn't seem that Fusion University was spamming too much. I think that Sugar Free is just crapped out of their minds and got so much damage out of Pure Irish and didn't miss a shot, and that's exactly what happened there. We're mostly up to that Nano boost as well. And that's going to be another easy team fight win for Fusion University. They're going to let the setup for the next one with an easy, nice and simple Nano boost engagement on screen.
Yeah, there's just nothing that they can do right there without the speed boost of Starboy to get this brawl onto the objective. It's just going to be really hard. Poco giving out a no, you're not going through this choke anytime soon. 30% in climbing for Fusion University.
Here comes that Nano boost. Jaekaru is going right into the backline. Just needs to get rid of the immortality field and then clean up the rest of the entire team. And yeah, then this team fights that Jaekaru just to try and finish off Teemo, which they will do. Looking for a little bit more on the spawn, and now we'll back off. And Fusion University, I think they want to get a little bit of greedy here. They're close to the Graviton Surge, they're close to the Bulb. And this has been a really, really convincing line for Fusion University. All the board haven't even got close to taking an engagement yet. I mean, yeah, they've engaged, but have they really challenged Fusion University? Not really.
Well, it looks like we're going to see Sir Gibson on this Sombra now, looking to see if they can get some value in this backline. Cappy coming out with the Deadeye, trying to find Jaekaru and finds him underneath the overhang. Graviton Surge comes in. Giala finds Teemo amidst that chaos, and the Bob gets sent into the action from Shockwave to grab a kill as well. Funny's going to continue to hold on to this objective, heading into Final Fight territory for Olden Board.
That was the best we've seen from the board this round. You know, they managed to get a nice Deadeye setup. They managed to find Jaekaru. Cafe managed to get themselves in a pretty good space to get another kill. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough because Poco, Sugar Free, and Shockwave were just able to clean up that fight and maybe clean up this round here. I don't even know if Olden Board can get a touch.
Well, they do get a touch. Overtime now ticking away. The question is, can they hold it all together with all the beams coming out? Pure Irish got nothing to eat right there. It's going to get taken down by Jaekaru. Overtime now ticking away as the Nano goes in, and Boombox trying to hold the team together right now as the Primal comes out from Karu, just swinging everybody off this objective. Ends up finding Snappy over the side as they look for Teemo as well. Funny, able to get the follow-up there in the end. Just barely able to grab that objective, but steps off at the final moment. 100-0 as Fusion University take downtown.
Yeah, that was convincing. I mean, that's all I'm going to say on that. Well, boy, they managed to get, I think, 3 final blows that round. Maybe that's generous. I think I only saw 2, but I'm just going to take into account that I probably missed one. And Fusion University, what I like from them is the fact that they're actually running compositions that other teams would like, right? You know, they're running the simple double bubble on Downtown. They're going to be running the standard poke composition here on Sanctuary that you usually see. I'm going to be interested to see how Funny Astro and Boombox rotate and take space with Poco. I want to see what sort of angles they want to take, and maybe more aggressive angles, because they'll have a little bit more confidence in their gameplay. So that's something I want to see. Is Fusion University going to go for a standard rotation, or something a little bit more aggressive with their backline?
Well, Olden Board is going for the tried and true. They're going to keep sticking with that rush composition as Fusion coming out with that ball Sigma comp, that stun and go, as it were. Giala looking for some poke there on the side, seeing if they can get an easy first pick before the objective unlocked. And it looks like the rotation is coming out. Drum room currently being held by Olden Board as Fusion U holds the other side, just literally 180 of each other everywhere around. Poco trying to create some space right here, but Teemo is aggressing onto this objective right now. Poco trying to poke back, but it looks like it may not be enough. The stun tries to come in, and Fusion U somehow able to push back Olden Board. Don't even take a single elimination.
Look at how Poco just extends themselves further forward. They're still kind of with their supports in that sort of sight line, but they extend themselves towards to get more damage to build up that flux quicker. I like that from Poco. Still staying with the supports, but also engaging a little bit more aggressively.
First elimination comes in as Pure Irish finally finds Jkaru there on the sidelines. Deadeye now coming out from Cappy, looking to find someone, anyone, but just gets sucked. Poco taking in that damage and making it their own as Shield. Pulse Bomb comes in, Pure Irish falling incredibly low as Starboy trying to boop Bob out of this area, but they cannot. The boop is not strong enough with this one as Fusion U continue to hold the objective, 40% and climbing.
I mean, it was actually not bad from all the board. They managed to keep their backline pretty consistent. It was quite difficult for Jkaru and Sugar Free to get value. Of course, Jkaru actually ended up going down the first pick of the fight. However, Oldenboard unable to close out, unable to get any lasting engagements or lasting damage to even pressure Fusion University. But it was a nice start to the team fight for them, managing to shut down that frontline damage. And it's going to be a little bit more difficult for them now. They're walking into a Flux, a Minefield, and both support ultimates, but they are getting closer to that EMP.
Jolly and Cappy going at it with that Tracer battle, and Pure Irish does find Astro in the back line. That's going to be a great way to start things off because Boombox may be next to go. Poco coming in with the rise and fall. Ends up taking Teemo down incredibly low, but going to be able to get back to the safety of the team just in time. Boombox getting zoned out by Pure Irish. There just seems to be nothing that they can do to hold that support line together. Teemo falling incredibly low as Giala just cleans it up. This Tracer duo just taking 1-for-1 on either side of the objective. Snappy coming out with that Coalescence, pumping in as much damage and heals as they can to try to keep their team alive because overtime's ticking away. There comes the EMP, triple Cappy with the double kill. Pulse Bomb at the perfect position, but still there are Fusion U members literally littering this objective. Finally, Old and Board are able to get a lock on this objective.
Good engagement at the start of that team fight, that very long team fight for all of them. Board, they get into the backline, they take out Funny Ash, which means they don't get the rally online for a while. Fusion University, you have to try and keep the team fight alive, so they use Boombox's Transcendence. They probably need that later on in the team fight. They're going to try and engage Charlie with the Wrecking Ball, but with the wall. However, Shockwave is already dying.
Bob Ori invested into the fight, but Shockwave's down as well. The trade's coming in on the main tanks, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough to flip the point just yet. Cappy, Ori halfway up to the next Pulse Bomb, seeing if they can create some space in that back line. Ends up diving in with the punch to take Boombox right on out of the fight. Starboy falling incredibly low. Is going to be able to get back to the safety of the team for now. Pulse Bomb on to Snappy, but the Wraith was in position. Going to end up getting wasted as Teemo is going in deep. Ends up finding Shockwave with that Primal Rage and is looking to get the follow-up there onto Giali as well. Going to be able to retreat back to the safety of the team as Old and Board continue to hold.
Yeah, we saw Starboy fighting for their life. It was imperative that they got out, because that later meant that they kept their other support alive with the sound barrier, and now they have Snap alive with that Coalescence to go for another engagement. Starboy escaping with their life might just win Old and Board this round.
Yeah, Old and Board are ready to start setting the pace of this fight. Now that they've swapped off this brawl composition, we see the mines coming out for Jkaru, but Pure Irish is the one getting the trade. Shockwave on the high ground! Finds the double around the drum. Pure Irish and Snappy just barely poking their heads out. Overtime ticking away, and it doesn't seem that there is anything that can be done. Cappy able to touch the drum to trigger overtime. Pulse Bomb finds nothing, and Fusion University walk away with Busan 2-0, bringing them up 1-0 in our series.
You kind of got the sense that Fusion University were always comfortable in that match. They were comfortable, they were going to take it 2-0. However, Old and Board, I like some of the individual plays you saw for them, in particular that second round of Busan. Downtown, they kind of got absolutely destroyed. Jkaru in particular had a really good map box as well. But when we went to Sanctuary, and it got a little bit messy from Fusion University, it was pretty good. Cafe got some nice highlight plays. They were able to identify Funny Asha as sometimes being out of position. and struggling to build up that rally. They were able to do that. I mean, Funny Asher is usually so good at Perdita, but all on board, their old tracking was right, and they were able to get that Perdita before that really long fight, so they wouldn't have to rally for it. I actually thought Olden Board played pretty well, considering they're up against Fusion University here on that round of Sanctuary. They got some nice pickups, their engagements were nice. However, they just didn't have enough to bring it across the line against this star-studded team. They are smurfing in Contenders Trials. This is ridiculous.
Well, nevertheless, smurfing or not, I feel that still Olden Board put up a heck of a fight. The issue with control, right, and we talk about this all the time, is that you're constantly against the clock. And so if Olden Board had come out on that composition that was doing them so well, could we have seen a map 3 on Busan? Possibly. It definitely would have created a lot more space for it to be a probability, at very least. But since they started out on that Brawl composition and ended up giving up a lot of percentage to Fusion University before they were able to flip it over, you just kind of got to think of what the alternate dimension could have been for this match. But that's definitely something to start thinking about moving forward, because now Olden Board have the ability to pick what map we head to next. So they're going to be able, if they really want to play that Brawl, which it seems that they do, because we're heading to King's Row, they're going to be pulling out that Brawl. And honestly, there's not a lot that Fusion University could play here otherwise. I mean, you can play the double bubble, you can play the dive, you can play the other things, but this is home of the Brawl, baby. This is why everyone loves Scrims Row. So I'm really interested to see if Fusion U is going to answer the call for this Brawl on Brawl matchup.
Well, I actually think that we're not going to see Brawl from Olden Board. I think they're going to go towards the rush that they were running later on, right? They were running like traditional Brawl at the start of each round, but then they switched to more rush-based style towards the end of Busan's Sanctuary. They run the Moira instead, they run the Tracer and the Sombra as well. I think we could just see like a standard rush for coming out from Olden Board against the Brawl of Fusion Uni, or rush versus rush. I don't think we're going to see like the traditional Brawl that we usually see, which is McCree, May/Doomfist, and then the rest of it, Ryan Diva and Lucio Baptiste. I think it's going to be rush versus rush here. I think that's going to be something that Olden Board are a little bit more comfortable bringing against Fusion University and try and catch them off guard.
That definitely may be the case here. It's going to be... I'm really intrigued to see how this continues to work out. I know that people are saying that essentially most of Fusion is smurfing here, but I mean, you got to remember, where do these teams get their players from? It's right here. It's right here in Contenders Trials and Contenders. This is where everybody is kind of homegrown and brought up to the OWL level to be able to play. So although they're kind of back, I mean, they're still facing off against really incredible teams. And Olden Board, although having a rough start on downtown, they're still putting up quite a heck of a fight.
And in particular, in the European region, we've seen a lot of teams pick up players from the European region. British Hurricane, Paris Eternal, most of their roster is made up of a player from last year's European Contenders, right? Of course, Richo just moved to the Paris Eternal, who just won Contenders Europe with New Kings. Very good pickup. Of course, got a win already for the Paris Eternal on their debut. I believe it was in their debut series, the judges. So congrats on that. So yeah, a lot of the teams will be, the Overwatch League teams will be starting the European region in particular. If they want Western players, the European region has typically been quite successful to get those Western players in and instantly into the league.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this continues forward, because we're seeing a lot of big names starting to move up. I mean, just look at Fusion University itself. Boombox, previously on Young and Beautiful, was lighting it up on that team and ended up getting picked up for this university team. So I'm going to be really interested to see how these names that we're so familiar with down here in the Tier 3, Tier 2 scene start to shine and maybe might start poking their head up to the OWL level in the near future. As we go ahead and head on into King's Row, it looks like we're going to wait and see what these teams are going to come out with, what presents they will grace us with as the doors get ready to unlock.
I think you did Boombox a bit of disservice there. Boombox is an Overwatch League Grand Finalist. That's
true.
Right? Like, they were with
See, I'm still very new to this. I forget that people have a history behind the history.
Like, Boombox and Poker have been in Overwatch League Grand Finals. Never mind Contenders Trials, right?
True,
this is interesting for them.
Get behind.
All right. Well, interesting setup coming in. It looks like we are indeed getting this rush composition with the McFlurry coming out with Caffey and Sir Gibson on that McCree and May. They are ready and raring to go. And it looks like Fusion U opting for that double bubble.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's going to be standard roll from the defense. I expected them to go rush holding board. They looked a little bit more comfortable on rush, but it's going to be standard roll for the defense, Fusion University. It's all spam, it's all double bubble. It's all about building up Boombox's database.
Well, the biggest thing is going to be these DPS. You got Shockwave and Gialli on that Echo and Hanzo. Those logs are being thrown as you already see the Sonic Arrow going in. They're rotating their way onto the high ground above the objective. The Alderworth being held right now by Olden Board. They're trying to poke their way back out, but it's really hard to do when you got two heavy damage dealers on either side. Maywall comes out for Sir Gibson. The Shockwave just going to go ahead and perch themselves right on top of it. Pure Irish does find Gialli there in the end. And it looks like that might be enough for them to go ahead and pull this objective back into their favor. There's a lot of ultimates getting ready to come online. And Uva already having the Nano online. They're not even going to wait for the regroup. They're just going to start cleaning it up. Cappy, first one to fall as just the Tesla cannon tickling away at the life of Olden Board. They thought that they were safe in the 5v6 and that Fusion U was going to pull back, but they did not. And Chikaru just chasing down poor old Pure Irish all the way back to the spawn doors.
Alright, so Fusion University, they were just waiting for that nano boost online, but what are they going to do in fights where they're a little bit further away from that nano boost? They're going to go for an early Dragon Strike engagement like they are now? Like, worked out, or they're going to try and finish it up with the duplicates.
Alright, we see the duplicate coming out for Gialli. Choosing the McCree, comes in with the stun, looking to take down Sir Gibson. Gonna be unsuccessful, has the Deadeye online, but not gonna be able to pop it in time. Pure Irish able to go ahead and melt down Poco, sending them back to spawn. It looks like Olden Board in a weird rotation kind of way. They're gonna hold this choke and shave some time off of that bank.
Yeah, they get the Archite and Poco's got its own start to use in the last fight. Fusion University though, they're not going to slow down, they're going to try and push the agenda through with Funny Astro's Valkyrie, build up those DPS ultimates once more.
Pure Irish zoning out that window to make sure Shockwave and Gialli aren't able to put that poke damage into their backline as Timo holding strong in the front line, but Poco just melts them down. There's nothing that can be done. Pure Irish getting demeched and just obliterated by Fusion University. They thought that they were safe, but once again, Fusion U proves that there's no safe place for them to be with this team on the field.
All the boards is incredibly strange. They just kind of walked into Fusion University, used the Blizzard while they had all of their cooldowns up and expected something to happen. Not quite how that ultimate works. Usually you want to use that when your opponent's either running into you or the fight is just slowing down and it's a bit of a neutral engagement. That's when Blizzard is at its best. Like how Fusion University are playing this, they're just trying to poke it out. They have both DPS ultimates up yet again, but that'll be something Jack Hard. That's how they want to start this fight.
That's right. Snappy in the back line ends up getting the beat from Starboy and is trying to survive against this monkey. Pure Irish sends the bomb in deep, but the res is there. Bring Shockwave back into the fight. Snappy does end up falling in the end, and Cappy not able to zone out the monkey or the rest of Fusion University. That payload is going to keep pushing in as the duplicate clears things up, finds, gets the help in taking down Pure Irish, and that payload's heading in to Objective Charlie.
Yeah, Poco's gonna have the Graviton Surge, so just endless supply of win conditions for Fusion University. What will the board want to happen is Poker to get a little bit greedy with this Scarlet Concert, and then they can use their own Blizzard as a defensive measure, and then clean up the team. But that's what all the board needs to try and get some momentum back, but it's really hard to clean up their own Blizzard with the 3 dead.
Alright, we see the flicks coming in from these DPS. Just looking to click any head that they can in their way, and Jolly is just finding a full-on value right now. Sir Gibson falling low. Without the Icicle online, they can't hold it together. Now we're possibly heading into final fight territory. Oldenburg have the ability to hold it together, but this grab might keep them in spawn.
I don't even know if they can get out, because when you skip their Mayo, they're going to try and get some other players on the side. Kappa and Snappy.
Oh! Big pick right there from Snappy on the side. Shockwave does grab the triple comboed with the Graviton as they go ahead and bring the res right back in, and it looks like despite the picks that were coming in from Snappy and Cappy on the side, it's not going to be enough to shut down this strain. Fusion University locking in Objective Charlie with 1 second less than 3 minutes on the clock. Not a bad time bank for these folks.
Yeah, that was a really good run for Fusion University. Yeah, they lost a couple of team fights, whatever. No team is just not going to lose a team fight in Contenders Trials. I don't care how good you are. But let's talk about Fusion University and what they did incredibly well and why they were so good, right? Shockwave and Sugar Free are just nuts. That's what we're going to leave it at. But let's analyze Jakaru, Boombox, and Funny Astro. You talked about Poke one up already. Funny Astro is the major reason why Shockwave and Sugar Free are able to pop out so much. They are helping them build these ultimates so fast with those early Valkyries and those simpler engagements with the damage boost, right? Those DPS ultimates are being built so fast. If you don't know how Overwatch works with ultimates, you build more ultimate charge towards your ultimate if you do more damage. So the more damage you do, the more ultimate charge you gain. So Funny Astro playing the Mercy and giving you damage boost means they're going to build up their ultimates faster. Fusion University did that so well, building up their DPS ultimates incredibly quickly. Boombox has been in charge of those engagements, right? Boombox and Jakaru building up their nano boosts, playing patiently, and then just winning the team fights when the nano boosts come onto their main tank. Really good play from Fusion University.
This is going to be interesting. Now we're seeing the mirror rush v rush right now, and it's really going to come down to the positioning for either of these teams to determine who is going to be able to lock down this objective the fastest. We see Funny kind of poking out right there, almost getting their head taken off by Cappy if they're not careful, and already falling incredibly low right now. Immortality going out to try to save the members of Fusion University, but Jakaru does find Cappy amidst the chaos. Funny on that high ground, just redditing around, ends up getting some picks of their own, looking to see if they can get that follow-up onto Snappy as well, and just cleans it right on up. The team kill comes in, doesn't ring, but they will start touching the spawn doors. Mean! Just mean!
Gold sticker for half of Fusion University there for touching the spawn door. They're building up towards small units as well. They're going to have the up matrix early on. They're going to use that. And then they're going to try and use Shockwave's Deadeye to get a little bit more space or just open up the team fight. But it seems it's pretty open up already.
Yeah, there's not a lot that they can do with the damage coming out through that AM matrix. They wear it down, but that's time off the clock. They're looking to move their way back in. Deadeye coming out as the Maywalls, both of them being up. No way to get around it due to that fire hydrant. Gonna end up having to waste that, but honestly, they're just wasting time. The more time they take off the bank, the more Oldenburg have to fight to get into this objective. Cappy has the Deadeye online, moving their way to the high ground. Look at Sneaky Creek. Can they get somebody? Boombox! The Snappy falls too. Funny Astro is just a Reddit Lucio unhinged right now. And wait a second. The Fusion U don't even realize half of Oldenburg are on the objective. End up getting first tick, looking to get second tick right now. And I'm not exactly for certain what is going on. The scatter is just all over the place, and Oldenburg are living for it. First tick, second tick, third tick, go. 4:20 on the clock as the payload unlocks and starts making its way through the street.
I don't know if you can see Funny Astro's emoting in the old spawn of Oldenburg. There he is, on his way back from his trip, and yeah, bye Funny Astro. Not so sure what that was all about, but Actually going to pay a big price for that, because this means that Olden Board are going to get through that very difficult archway that we start off Kings Road Point B on. So, nice little bit of space for Olden Board. They're building up a nice plethora of ultimates to use up as well. They have the Storm Power and the Blade Blizzard that can use defensively. Maybe go for some aggressive tank ultimates. Teemo and Pure Irish, they have some options with the Self-Destruct and the Earth Shadow.
This is probably some of the funnest rotations I've seen in Overwatch right now, and as we see the payload looking to be abandoned. It looks like they were trying to juke out the rotation, kind of a double fake, if you will, but it's not going to work out the way that they were hoping. Deadeye does find Starboy, and Poco gets the E! Cappy does end up finding it. Shockwave ends up finding Sir Gibson on the objective. Self-destruct goes in heavy. Cappy able to get the follow-up onto Jikaru, but the trades just keep coming in. It just seems like Fusion U are having a heyday right now, and they're not even worried about giving up space because they know in the end they're going to bring it right on back.
Oh, Poco's going to go for some crazy. Yeah, here we go. Let's see what Poco wants to do. Oh, no. Simple rematch for Poco. Not going to play it too simple. Of course, Poco had a big impact on that last fight with the May Blizzard 8 from Sir Gibson. I mean, that was a tighter fight. They could have actually pulled it out Olden Board. And of course, what I really like is that on the speed Deadeye to try and catch out Starboy. It works beautifully. Fusion University only have the Blizzard for this next fight. Olden Board, well, 2, 3 ultimates to work with. So, a slight ultimate advantage for Olden Board going into this next fight.
All right, rotation back to main as they look for a fat old Shatter to lay on down. They gotta find Garu with the shield down! There comes the cleanup. The Blizzard gets traded, but it's not gonna be enough for them to take this back. Starboy lighten up the kill feed, grabs a double kill of their own as the DPS stick into the Blizzard, now unthawed. Payload will move its way into objective Bravo, giving them 3.5 minutes to push into the Foundry.
That was a really nice Maywall from Sir Gibson. It actually meant that she only couldn't get an optimal Blizzard off before Chick3 was able to get off that Blizzard. Jikari was already dead, basically. And Starboy managed to get a Storm Barrier for this next fight, so they still have options, particularly now that Jikari's rolled off yet again.
It wasn't a wall off, it was just a good old hug from their friends on Olden Board. As they go ahead and push their way into this objective, they are not leaving anything else to chance. Olden Board are warmed up and ready and raring to go. They are under time. They are looking to speed run the rest of this map. And Majesty's out on both sides as the Deadeye starts zoning for Cappy as the payload moves its way in. Jikaru has that Shatter on the line, looking to lay it on down. But it looks like they're going to go ahead and pull back, get healed up, and prepared for this final fight.
Yeah, they're going to rotate around this left-hand side. However, this makes things difficult. Okay, they're going to come back out, because otherwise they'll be stuck in a really short space where they couldn't get frozen for Shatter. They're going to get Shattered anyway.
Ooh, the Shatter does find some in the back line as we see Pure Irish sending out the self-destruct. It's nothing but shield, but Teemo able to take down Jikaru in the end without that front line pressure. It's now going to be taken back by Gialli with the Blizzard. Going to provide a lot of front line pressure. And Matrix coming down. Free Shatter comes out with the beat. Deadeye finding Cappy amidst the chaos. Blizzard coming out from Sir Gibson as well, but the follow-up just isn't there. They're not able to take it back, and with all those ultimates wasted, Olden Board are going to have to think of some new tactics to make their way back into this objective.
Fusion University are so good at getting value out of that Deadeye ultimate. That McCree ultimate, it's quite hard to get value out of. They always seem to get Shockwave in the correct spaces because of funny Astros and speed boosts. Very nice to see from the Fusion University team. Getting value out of a not so great ultimate.
You see Funny holding this objective corner right now as we see the payload moving its way backward, getting ready to be under a minute on the clock. Olden Board got to make some moves, and they got to make them quick. Snappy getting ready to come back with that Amp Matrix, and the Deadeye is going to provide a lot of value, but Poco's in the back line, and Shockwave does find Cappy on the side. Immortality Field coming out and going down just as quickly as it came out. Now the Diva battle on the high ground between Pure Irish and Poco continues to flourish. Moving its way back down. The beat comes out. Starboy now leading the charge, trying to get this team and this payload into objective 3, but it's not enough. 30 seconds remain on the clock as the picks continue to come in, and Fusion University are not going to allow them to shut down this point yet.
That was a nice Earth Shatter coming in from Teemo, but I don't think there's anyone really alive to help him out. And yeah, this one's pretty much done and dusted. Even if Oldenburg do manage to get a contest, it'll be a very difficult one at that, and they're kind of stuck.
Oh, now this is just mean. They're touching the spawn doors again. Emoting to Starboy. Starboy's on point, trying to see if they can go ahead and keep it in overtime. They get booped away at the last moment. Taken down by Jkaru's hammer. Funny. Being funny indeed here on Kings Row takes away the map 3-2 as we go ahead and head into halftime.
Yeah, Fusion University, they've looked very comfortable. They've even got time to do a little bit of trolling so far in this series. I mean, Shockwave and Sugar Free in particular, but actually stood out a lot to me. Sugar Free is always a player I love to see in this team. Of course, Sugar Free still insisting that they want to go over to Valorant, and I mean, I personally hope not, but they do whatever makes them happy. I personally want to see Sugar Free in Overwatch League one day. They've been excellent in this series. They've been excellent whenever they've played in Contenders, and I just want to see more of that player. Unfortunately, might not happen, but Fusion University have been brilliant, like, all the way. Every single core member of that team has played well. Foodbox has been building up their support ultimates quite quickly. Fanny Ash with Shockwave, getting value out of their Jedi's with Delicio and McCree. Pretty nice. Poco has played a really consistent game, and Shockwave and Sugar Free have looked brilliant.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is nothing less than you expect from an Overwatch League breeded team. And I'm going to be surprised to see how things turn out in the second half. I feel like I already know. But Oldenburg still have a chance. I'm always be rooting for them underdogs. So go ahead and join me and Ocean and the rest of the team after this break to see if Oldenburg can bring it back. It's going to be interesting to see. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back, Overwatch fans, to the EMEA Contenders Trials, where we got Fusion University currently up 2-0 against Olden Board. And needless to say, I'm gonna be as nice as I can. This is rough. This is really rough right now for Olden Board. I mean, funny be doing a funny on King's Row. There was no doubt about it. They were just all over the place, and it didn't even matter because they knew in the end, no matter how much time ticked down, that they were going to be able to lock it down, and that's exactly what they did. Now, the question is, do Olden Board have a response to that? I mean, you know, teams that get kind of a little bit overconfident, a little bit overzealous, there are ways to punish that. So the question is, does Olden Board have a way to punish Fusion University for the trickery that they are pulling out today?
I mean, they probably do. It's probably just going the standard version, isolating targets a little bit more. That's probably one way. But that way isn't going to last for long. Fusion University, eventually, if they know they're getting caught out, will just adapt. And that's what these players are capable of. There's a little bit of a difference here in the skill and the knowledge of the game, right? I'm not afraid to say that. I mean, Olden Board, great players. Honestly, are a team that we could still see in Contenders.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
4 slots total.
They're going to be 2-1 after today. But what is more exciting to me about this Fusion University team and the sheer cold squad that we saw earlier is we're going to have a really interesting contender. We've got British Hurricane, EXO, New Kings, and Choose Money Crew all looking great already in Contenders. We're going to have this Fusion University team that's just kind of dumped here, right? Just dumped in trials. And we're going to have an upwards trending sheer cold all competing for Contenders Europe. That's 6 teams who are all very strong.
Yeah, and that's something scary that the rest of the Contenders Trials team should be thinking about moving forward, because it's not just getting past Contenders Trials to get into Contenders. I mean, the goal is you want to win Contenders as well. So if you're having a hard time just making your way into 3rd and 4th place, I mean, it's not going to get any easier from here. It looks like our next map is going to be Watchpoint Gibraltar, which is definitely great for the metas that we've been seeing. Definitely plays a lot more into Fusion University's wheelhouse that we've seen with that double bubble, or even that ball Sigma composition we could see coming back out again if they really want to be funny about it. I mean, heck, I wouldn't be surprised at this point if they just pulled out the Hog Rissa just as kind of a throwback to see how hard they can flex here. But again, it's all about whether or not Olden Board can punish that funniness of fun.
I always giggle when we call Fusion University funny. It makes me laugh, and it is quite a funny joke. No pun intended. But now focusing on Gibraltar as a map, I mean, the only reason I can really think about Olden Board picking this map is when you're defending point B, it'd be quite easy to defend point B, especially if you stop your opponents pretty early on point B and you can just hold that airship. Then it'd be quite an easy hole for them, right? You're spamming into multiple doorways, and you could always set the pace and the initiative. If they can hold Fusion University on point B, that might be where Olden Board are pulling this logic from. Just trying to get Fusion University a bit stuck.
Yeah, and I think that's the issue right now, right? Is trying to get Fusion University stuck, because it seems that no matter what Olden Board do, even if they catch 1 or 2 out of position, the other 4 just come back with an absolute fury and are able to hold everything together until their team gets regrouped. So at the end of the day, it's got to be about the punishments, right? They got to focus on those key players, those linchpins that have been holding that team together. And honestly, it's the support line. That's really the biggest aspect of this that is holding them all together. As long as one support is still alive for Fusion University, I think they're going to continue to hold strong in whatever match we see them going forward.
Let's actually turn our attention. We've been focusing on the narrative of these big teams in Contenders Trials, Sheer Cold and Fusion University. Let's talk about Olden Board and Raspberry Racers for a bit, because both of those teams, I would say, are in pretty good positions to get the 3rd and 4th spot that allow you to get into Contenders. And they both actually finished 7th or 8th, both respectively, 7th or 8th, in the last 2 Contenders seasons that we had in March and April. So what's interesting, March and April. So what's interesting to me now is, can they push further than that? I'm not so sure they can do that immediately, but a good start for them, Golden Board and Raspberry Racers, is making sure that they get the results in trials and finish in the top 4. I think the first 2 spots are locked in, Sheer Cold and Fusion University, but it's important that they get themselves across the line and don't drop in to the open division system.
This is definitely some interesting choices getting ready to come out for Olden Board, using Cappy on the Ash, which we know them to be very formidable for. J-Karu getting booped on down by a Starboy, who has opted for the Brig this time around. Looking to get a little brawly, make sure to protect that back line on. We do see Fusion U moving into that high ground space, pushing back. Olden Board, big anti-nade coming in from Boombox, finds 2, but the cleanup's just not there. The payload is furiously moving its way forward, and Olden Board really got to find an answer to all this aggression.
Yeah, and it looks like Timo's just about to go down, but Fusion University now have got the positioning they want. They can control the area in and around the payload. They can control that blue box on the high ground. Fusion University has all you could ever ask for on an attack round of Gibraltar. As long as they can keep Sugar Free up and keep their supports alive, that should be a pretty nice position for them. All on board, without any eliminations, just have to back off.
Alright, we see Fusion U holding this high ground, just aggressing to wherever Olden Board seems to be, and the melt just continues to come in. Shockwave, Jolly, and Funny all lining up that kill feed, and it's easy day for Fusion U as they grab Objective Alpha and head into the hangar.
Yeah, and now what's even scarier is, what are Fusion University going to do for this next fight? Are they going to try and set up Shockwave for a Deadeye? You know, Funny Astro maybe 3-pack Shockwave, 2 packs, and then go for a more aggressive Deadeye. It's going to be a nano boost engagement from the Winston, I would expect that. And Boombox and J-Karu teaming up once again for a pretty simple team fight. I'd imagine that's what they're going to opt for.
Alright, we see Timo jumping in on top of the ship, trying to provide some space and clear Fusion U of that high ground advantage. Gonna go ahead and jump on back up as the rest of the team moves in onto that cart, but the payload is already almost into Objective Bravo. Shockwave finds Pure Irish, but Sir Gibson gets the trade with the Pulse Bomb. Jolly getting one of their own, and Poco just absolutely supercharged right now. Sir Gibson trying to stagger the 5.5 minutes, flying through the hangar as they move into Objective Charlie. And it just doesn't seem that they can shut down Fusion U.
Yeah, they're going to have a Graviton Surge for this next fight as well. And they're probably going to be able to clean that up quite easily. All they have to do is wait for Pure Irish's particle barriers to be gone. Graviton Surge in this next team fight will probably be theirs. On the board, they have one other way to disrupt that, and that's an aggressive primary rage to stop the follow-up. But can they do that?
Ooh, really fat grab coming in as we see Poco just melting away. Supercharged and ready and raring to go. Cappy gets melted down. It is the Poco show, Poco yo, as they go ahead and clear the objective once again. And now it's a spawn hold, which seems to be Fusion U's specialty right now. It seems that no matter what they can do to try to get out of there, they're just going to be met with ultimate after ultimate. Cappy swapping over to the Reaper to be able to try to touch the objective. Ends up getting zoned out by Shockwave there on the high ground, and it's just too little, too late. 7 seconds shy of a very nice time as Fusion U walk away with Objective Charlie.
That's gotta be a record for Contenders Trials, right? That's got to be a record. 4 minutes and 27 seconds left on the clock. The only thing that could have been faster for Fusion University on that offense was the setup on point A. But the setup was perfect. It just, like, Olden Board didn't really even need to lose any players. Fusion University just out-rotated them. Olden Board knew if they take any engagement, they're going to lose it. And, well, they did. Fusion University, they set up really well on point A. Their fight plans were great for the rest of the map, and one notice I want to give is that the first fight on point B, right? Fusion University, they nanoboost J-Karu, and Timo goes for an engagement on the high ground of the Poco. And Olden Board's Nano Boost comes late, which means that Poco is able to survive, and Jakari gets the Nano Boost early and is able to get a kill. Maybe Fusion University, or the difference between these Tier 2 teams, or Tier 1 teams in Fusion University's case, and Tier 2.5, Tier 2 teams, is the sharpness of getting a Nano Boost engagement line, or the sharpness of looking for an opportunity. Like, Sugarface getting so much value, maybe they're just able to figure out more opportunities for that value to go through. Maybe that's the difference between the good teams and the less strong teams that we're seeing right now.
I think the thing that interests me the most right now of what we're seeing coming in is this Echo versus Junkrat battle. Things are about to get a little explodey, folks. Question is, will it be enough for them to be able to push back against Olden Board? Because Olden Board already got that cart moving. They don't have to fight him on the high ground as long as that cart is moving forward, and they might just be waiting to see if Fusion University will go ahead and be aggressive, be aggressive. It looks like they will go ahead and zone out just a little bit as Olden Board pull back, get healed up, and prepared to push that cart a little bit further.
I'm not sure what Olden Board are waiting on. It's a junk crack. You know, just make sure that you're playing away from the spam and then just walk. Fly into him, do something. You can't just let him spam the entire game. And Shockwave is able to spam for a very, very long time here. Already 72% to that Riptide.
Alright, well, we see the sleep dart coming in from Snappy. Does end up sending J. Karu into a little nap as Teemo sends the payload into the underground. Shockwave just kind of zoning out the objective. I've seen very little eliminations going on because it just seems to be a poke battle right here. Olden Board and Fusion University, I'm not for certain which, are not looking to commit to this fight just yet. Shockwave coming out with the tire. Cappy now on the Ash. Ends up burning it down with the dynamite. And now Gialli on the low ground just trying to zone out, seeing if they can keep away anyone of Olden Board off this objective. Sir Gibson now coming on to the Zarya, trying to see if they can get that charge high enough to get the Graviton Surge on the line. It's not just barely able to get the Graviton, but I don't think they noticed that they got it out, or whether they caught anybody in it to begin with. Fight continues onward as the picks continue to trade. Gialli holding strong boombox with the big sleep enhancing aid onto Sir Gibson, and Funny Astro there with the flail to send them all right back to spawn.
And Fusion University are back in front of the spawn doors and emailing where they probably belong in Contenders Trials, at the spawn doors anyway, because that is the level they are at compared to these other teams. All aboard, a formidable team, of course. You know, in the most recent Contenders, they're 2-1. They're there. They haven't won the game until this. You know, they're a good team, but Fusion University are just a class actor, a class above the rest. I mean, maybe Olden Board could try and get back into this map. They've got value engagement to maybe get a big Graviton Surge. That's something they can look at. But what are you going to grab here? Okay, they're going to grab their own spawner, because that's what Jakar and Poco are.
You know what? If that's what you gotta do, that's what you gotta do. Unfortunately, Caffey wasn't ready for Poco to fight back. The Rockets just absolutely obliterate that Reaper, and that's a great response for this tank line, trying to see if they can shred down the tanks, but there's still a lot of healing coming in from Funny and Boombox right now, and they're pretty much going uncontested. Shoot, Shockwave! It's just literally standing in place right here. It just isn't working. Oh my goodness! The picks coming in right now for Olden Board, finally able to create some space. Snappy falling down to half health as well as Teemo, and it doesn't look like they will go ahead and take Shockwave out of this fight as well. Poco able to get that pick onto Snappy in the end, and that payload's moving its way into objective alpha. Fusion U might try to contest this. They will push in for the contest because it is a 4v2 right now. The tire comes in, probably not going to end up getting much of anything, but in the last 10 seconds, zones out pretty well.
I mean, they have a couple raids coming with, so it's all lost Olden Board, but Fusion University is incredibly comfortable right now.
Yeah, comfort is definitely the word for it. It's like they're all in lazy boys, just kind of kicking their feet back and like, yeah, we're playing a game, Mom. I think. I'm not exactly for certain right now, but we're having a good time. But nevertheless, Olden Board are finally able to struggle bust their way into Objective Alpha. And now that they're in the hangar, hopefully they can start turning things around. Maybe add some time back to this spot.
Yeah, I mean, Fusion University, they do gift all on board at that point. We'll see what they can do with Shockwave on the Widowmaker here, of course. You've got some long sidelines to work with here on Watchpoint Gibraltar, and the Widowmaker pick isn't unheard of, and Shockwave Widowmaker. We'll see if they can get some value out of that. It's funny, Astro and Boombox look to walk forward.
Alright, rally v rally as we see Teemo poking in from the back door. Jolly just cleaning up the support line of Old and Board as Jkaru diving on in with the Primal Rage, finds Pure Irish and gets some help from Poco onto Teemo. That's a clear of the objective. Another spawn hold in the making from Fusion U.
Yeah, Pure Irish gets the Graviton surge though, and I think he'll be able to follow up these kills.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hold my... Well, you know what? Good on you. I wasn't gonna hold my breath on that one. I thought Poco was gonna get the eat on that ante, but was unsuccessful right there. That's gonna create some space for Old and Board to be able to push back in as... What is this?
I mean, Jkaru was aiming at it and Shockwave was just missing shots, so that's really what happened in the spawn rooms of Old and Board there.
Yeah, I guess this is a game all its own. I feel like I'm back in Overwatch Tranquility now, folks, and this is our event week. Just having a good old time. Just having some fun, poking fun at each other right now, because it seems that that's what Fusion U and Old and Board are doing right now. Old and Board are still making the picks that they need to continue to push this cart forward. The question is Fusion University going to end this map, or are they going to keep us reeling for a couple more?
Looks like we're gonna see a little bit more of Watchpoint Gibraltar. We're gonna see some point C action. 2 minutes or so on the clock for Old and Board as they look to try and push the aggression. The advantage that Fusion University have, very, very kindly offered. They'll use that to their best advantage. They're gonna use that Graviton Surge to get even more space on point C Gibraltar. Not that they use anymore, but no, not at Fusion Uni spawn door. I think that's a nice bit of karma for Fusion right now.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. It looks like Old and Board can play too. Gets a couple of picks there at the spawn door with the Graviton. Rallies popped out for either side right now. Starboy and Funny trying to push their team forward. We do see Jkaru falling incredibly low, able to escape at the last moment. Stuns coming in onto Teemo as the Nano tries to provide some support, but it might not be enough to hold them together. The payload continuing to move its way forward as Pure Irish has just got a red hot laser sighted on anyone from Fusion University that's going to touch, and a good old Deadeye coming out from Shockwave. They're trying to zone out best they can. Jolly finding Starboy in the back line. Deadeye finds Jkaru. Cappy able to try to clean up this objective. There might not be enough healing to hold it all together right now. As time continues to dawdle away, it seems that Fusion U will go ahead and take back this point.
Yeah, I mean, Sugar Free's gonna go down there. That's not too much impact, except for the fact that Sugar Free was close to that pulse bomb and they could use that while Old and Board are rotating, and that was probably the best time to use that ultimate. But they're gonna be close to Poco's Graviton Surge anyway, and they can use a Graviton Surge pulse bomb combo. Also close to the Nano Boost where they can just send Jkaru into the back line for an absolute feast of kills. There's so many options online right now for Fusion University, however, that's what conditions that they're at.
Alright, Graviton Surge coming in from Pure Irish. Pulse Bomb combo finds Shockwave amidst the chaos. Now the Graviton in the opposite direction. Cappy finds Jkaru. This might be enough as overtime ticks away to be able to push into Objective Charlie. Ocean, we are not done yet. Fusion University not able to hold the spawn. Adds a minute to either time bank, putting Fusion U at a whole 5 minutes 20 seconds for their next attack.
Initiating.
Yeah, Fusion University, they kind of gifted Old and Board the first 2 points, right? We can kind of agree on that. But I thought Old and Board played quite well on point C. I thought they extended the advantage that Fusion University gave them on point B to give them a lot of space. And then when they needed to go and win a team fight against Fusion University with their ultimates, they did. That's exactly what their board did. That was a pretty good team fight from them. And you know what? Good on you, Old and Board. Now, we get to see some additional lines of Watchpoint Gibraltar.
Hi there.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we get to see right here. The question is, will Olden Board find a way to lock this down and turn it around? Remember, Funny be pulling funnies right now, but they can still be punished. If Olden Board can find a way to just chip at this funniness and find a way to sneak at the crucial moments when Fusion U is like, okay, we're not messing around anymore, they could end up finding themselves with another 3 points on the board.
Yeah, it looks like we're seeing Sugar Free on the Junkrat this time around, of course. Junkrat, bit of a mean pick on Watchpoint Gibraltar. We've seen Shockwave on it the last time. And we're going to see Fusion University try it with Sugar Free this time. Fusion University try this with Sugar Free this time around.
All right, well, we'll see how much value comes in, and Cappy already finding Jolly, aka Sugar Free, there on the flank. And it looks like that payload's going to start moving its way forward. Remember, there's only a minute on the clock for Olden Board, so overtime's going to be ticking away here very quickly. And with Snappy and Timo already down, that's pretty much the only time that they're going to be able to abandon cart safely for the rest of this match.
Yeah, they do get to a little bit of distance on the carts. They get that underneath the tunnel. I mean, it's not horrible, and Sugar Free comes back on the Genji to, I guess, target the back line a little bit more. I had enough of that Junkrat thing.
All right, so Jolly swapping over to the Genji. Typically, this is not the pick that we would be looking at for right here, folks. I'm sure you all know that at home. But it's going to be interesting to see how that is utilized and if they will be punished for utilizing it. Overtime now ticking away as Jolly is looking to earn their way up to that Dragon Blade. Shockwave already has that Pulse Bomb online and is waiting for the combo. Poco just 10 away from that Graviton, but Pure Irish not going to allow that to happen. Jolly gets the trade onto Caffey, returning the Deadeye back to sender. And now it's a 5v5 fight on that objective. We see the Tracer battle there in the backline between Sir Gibson and a Shockwave. And Shockwave, I believe, is making their way to meet Caffey at spawn. I'm not 100% for certain. Bunny Astra now coming out with the rally, trying to hold the team together as everyone falls incredibly low in the Graviton Surge. The flail finds Pure Irish, and that might be just enough damage to hold it all together. Poco is poking with the right click, and at 62 meters, they will go ahead and lock down Objective Alpha and set a win condition for this possibly final match.
I'd assume this is going to be our final map, right? Surely Fusion University don't control that much, right?
We shall see.
No, that's not a challenge. That's not a challenge. It doesn't control harder than we've already been showing. But yeah, I mean, we've seen bigger holds on Watchpoint Gibraltar.
That's true.
That's a lie. No, we haven't.
I mean, maybe not at this level. I know in my comp games I've seen them, and that's pretty much what this is looking like at this point. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It seems like a platinum comp game finding themselves here in Contenders Trials, because it just doesn't seem... It seems that no matter what Fusion University comes out with, they're just able to lock it down, and that really goes to show that team comp is only part of the equation, right? Obviously, you want to be able to counter the counters of the enemy team, but communication and coordination are also huge parts about what makes this work. And oh man, normally I love it, but it's such, oh man, Ocean.
I don't like this either.
I mean, normally I would, right? Normally I'd be really excited about this because I love seeing my good old Bastion-y boy coming out into the action. But it's just sad at this point. It just makes me sad because now we're gonna see Shockwave on the Symmetra just melting down Timo with the turret. Picks coming in return for Olden Board, but without the main tank in the fight, it's going to be really hard for them to hold the payload where it is. This pirate ship going to get set up here rather quickly, and that payload's going to start moving.
Yeah, Sugar Free's not on the high ground. Never mind, they decided to walk off of it just to get some more kills, though. Pick up Caffey. And, yeah, I wonder if he's... Yeah, Sugar Free is going to set up on the plate with Poco and Funny Astro. All of them are best buds right now. Dakari also close to that primal rage to make things a little bit harder for all the board to even get that bastion off of the payload. Gonna have some fun disruption on that.
Hikaru falling low, but got the primal online. Teleporter heads to the high ground, and Jolly just pumping out damage. Was having a really hard time seeing due to that teleporter's blinding light, but it doesn't matter because the light rings in victory for Fusion University as they go ahead and take Watchpoint Gibraltar 4-3.
Well, that was an interesting map, wasn't it? You know, Fusion University, they had their fun, but they also demonstrated their quality, didn't they, Jack, right? You know, that first round, their offense, 4 minutes and 27 seconds left off the clock. That's insane. We're not going to see an attack of Gibraltar like that for the rest of this Contenders Trials, or even the next Contender season. I highly doubt it anyway, right? Not with that much quality. You know, that's how Fusion University, that's how good they are when they're playing properly. You know, they're able to go and win a Series 3-0 while trolling. They're also able to put a 4 minute 27 time bank there on Watchpoint Gibraltar. We got to see the quality of Fusion University. The questions have been answered. We are going to have a top 6 for next EU contenders that could all compete. Share Cold, Fusion University, coming from Trials. I mean, maybe Olden Board could get themselves up to that level as well. We don't know. I mean, they're 2-1 now so far, and they're going to have to look forward and try and get some good results in the rest of their games. But Fusion University, Share Cold, EXO, Choose Money Crew, New Kings, British Hurricane are all going to be competing for that Contenders title. Yeah,
and I think that's we're going to get a little peek at what that is going to be like once we see the Sheer Cold versus Fusion University match. I think that's going to be the big one to be looking out for, because with Sheer Cold being at that top 5 level, just barely being eliminated by British Hurricane, who is in that top 4, that's going to give us kind of a setup as to what Contenders may be like. I mean, is Fusion University on equal playing fields with these teams, or are we going to see more of this?
I mean, that's the interesting question. Are Fusion University gonna do this, what they just did to Olden Board, against teams like British Hurricane, against teams like New Kings? That's a big question.
I may cry. I may just cry in the audience there. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. But we do get to talk with one of the members of Fusion University here in a couple moments. We're going to do a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with more Contenders Trials action in a few moments. Welcome back, folks. We have got a Shockwave coming in from Fusion University. Shockwave, congratulations on your victory today. How are you feeling?
Thanks, man. Well, it was a fun match, I guess, but yeah.
Fun is definitely the word that we're using here in the booth. I will say that. Fun is a word that has been thrown around a lot today.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun to watch for the casual viewer, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions about not really this matchup. I want to ask you about, you know, the future of yourself and some of the players on this roster, because I think that's what everyone wants to know. So, this roster, of course, is kind of smurfing in trials. Do you think the teams in contenders, the 4 teams currently in contenders, will be a little bit closer to you, and even Sheer Cold, who are currently in trials, or do you think you are just better than everyone right now?
I think we're probably generally the best team by a decent margin, I would say.
Okay.
But I think there are definitely some comps that we could still practice. But I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't lose one match. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. And then I also want to ask, you know, Fusion is a pretty historic Overwatch League team in Israel, of course, in the Grand Finals in Overwatch League Season 1. And you're not playing with 2 of the members of that roster as well. How excited are you, you know, as an individual? Don't really care about your teammates at the moment. Just for this question, I want to ask you as an individual, how are you feeling about, you know, how excited are you to eventually get back on the Overwatch League stage?
I mean, I'm like really excited because I still haven't been to a team house yet, and I still like I have never played one LAN match. Like last year I didn't get to try it, and I haven't tried it yet this year. So I feel like I'm just looking forward to actually be in person with my teammates. I think, like the social part or the aspect of it as well. I've been kind of missing the whole time. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm for sure stoked about it. Gonna be nice.
Good. I'm excited for you. I hope you get to experience that as soon as possible. I'm going to throw you back to Jack for 1 or 2 more questions.
Yeah, that's definitely something I think all of us here in the booth and in the audience today can definitely relate to as things are continuing to open up. Now, one of the big matches that we're kind of looking forward to for Fusion University is pretty much your top contender here in Trials, and that's Sheer Cold. Pretty much going to give us kind of a foreshadowing of what might happen in Contenders, because we're just going to be honest. You 2 are probably going to make it to Contenders since the top 4 are going. The question is, how close is that match going to look? Do you think Sheer Cold have what it takes to put the brakes on the funny?
No, not really. I think
Oh no!
I think it depends on how we play. If we troll a bit too much, and I don't know, we might find some weird way to lose the match, but I don't think it should be close, really. So.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the line has been drawn in the sand, and we'll see if Sheer Cold can meet that. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to give you a quick second to shout out anything you'd like to shout out to our audience today about who brought you your victory today.
Yeah. So I want to shout out my coach, actually, Chris. I think he's like hard carrying this team. His huge knowledge and coaching of the team, so I think that's my shout out.
All right, the big brain behind the scenes. Definitely gotta love it. Thank you so much for spending some time with us, Shockwave, and thank you all at home for spending some time with us today. But we are not done. Although we are here in the EMEA, we are going to be hopping right across the pond here in a couple hours to see the North American division battling it out. We're going to be starting off with Wisp versus the North American Choose Money crew, followed by Malice versus Drifters. And I got to tell you, if you're going to be watching any match today, that Malice versus Drifters match is the one to watch.
Yeah, Malice, I believe, have went to map 5 in both of their games so far. They went to map 5 against UA and won, and they lost map 5 to Wisp yesterday, who are also in action against Choose Money Crew North America. Drifters, I believe, have won on map 5 as well. So that game is going to be extremely interesting. I really like how Malice set themselves up for different matchups. I think that every single game, they've got like a little bit of a different strategy to try and displace any of the value of a certain player on the opposition team. I like how Malice set up for matches. Drifters have been up and coming for a while. That's going to be an exciting matchup. But today, in Europe, we have seen what we needed to see. We needed to see where Sheer Cooled and Fusion University are at, and we have seen that they are definitely too good for Contenders Trials.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we're at right now. Although the Sheer Cold match, I'm still kind of shaking my head at. I'm wondering where Sheer Cold was today. I mean, they were still here enough to be able to take the dub away, but it was an interesting match. And if you missed it, be sure to go back. Actually, if you've missed anything this week, be sure to go back. We catalog all of the matches that happened here in Contenders Trials. Shoot, want to go back to OD? It's here too, right on the Reflash channel. Hit that subscribe button, ding that bell so that you get notified when we come online. Like we said, the NA division is going to be up later on today. Special thank you to Ink and Zathan, our producer and observer today. Couldn't do it without all your amazing work. That's Ocean. My name's Captain Jack, and we'll see y'all later tonight.